Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday night edition of Spaced Out Radio Tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in as we have the man with 9,247 podcasts. Bryan Bowden is here with, what the hell do we call this? Our Cryptid World. That's what we call it. Our Cryptid World. Yeah, he's based in Florida, visiting New York right now, and we're going to have a good time with him momentarily. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you. Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman in his goatee, sharing a silver. Fast Hemi with a bronze medal tonight. Let us move on down and say hello to Kitty Caddywhack. Gory Tiger, how you doing? Lenda, nice to see you. And who's next on our list? It's Hippie Deidre. Good to have you here, Hippie Deidre. Hope your Birkenstocks are staying warm in this rainstorm. Bar Madison, Robert Lamoth, and David Norenberg. Good to have you all here. Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you enjoy tonight's show very, very much. I hope you're comfy, cozy. You know how it is. Fast Hemi, good to see you. Missouri Man is here. Missouri Man will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because he took a request from Bryan Bowden and said, look, man, I ain't coming on SOR unless you lube me up all over. So Mel's currently lubing up Bryan as we speak. Green-Eyed Lady, welcome back as we continue on with our roll call. Amanda, nice to see you. Kathy Evans, thanks for coming on in. And Flat 6. Little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Necessary Dialogue. And T-Bone, my man. What's happening, buddy? Hope you're having a good night. Let's scroll on down and say hello next to... Well, there's a nice conversation going on here. Everybody's chatting and being happy. Happy, happy, happy. Kurt M., good to see you. Walter Kochabinski, thanks for coming on in. There's Eternity Eternal. Kurt M again. I'm Hardcore over on X. I'm Hardcore will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. He only signs in blue Sharpie, so make sure you get something that it shows up. All right. Scott B., good to see you. Flubber Lane, thanks for coming on in. Mark Eddy, how you doing? Al Garay over on Twitch, warming up for Bryan tonight. 1,500 jumping jacks in under 3 minutes. Guy is stoked for tonight. Sweet Donna C., nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, Delilah, thank you for joining us once again. Carol Amario, nice to have you here. Matthew Goodka and Seven Systems, thank you both for joining us tonight. Scrolling on down, there's Sensational Shelley. If you wave at her, she always waves back. Erica Stover, nice to see you. Bobbert Gray, good to have you here. And who is next on our list? In the studio, good to have you back here. All right, that's a good comment right there. And Fabster, highly unattractive, man. Highly unattractive. Just going to get that out there right now. Maybe it has something to do with that Dodger blue. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And who is next? Digger Dog, Ozzy, good to have you both here. B. Arthur is here from the Paranormal Portal. B. Arthur, nice to see you. Your mustache is looking great, B. Oh, let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as we have Bryan Bowden here for our Cryptid World. We're going to have some fun here tonight. We are in roll call on our YouTube side. So thank you to Kitty Cattywhack for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, Kitty, very, very much. And who is next here? Well, let's see here. Oh, man. Do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got an amazing show tonight. The man with 8,000 podcasts streaming all at once, Bryan Bowden, is here, and we're going to get into some monster talk on our Cryptid World. Then in hour number 3, it's a busy one, because I actually remember what day it is today. I'm not a day ahead. I'm into today. I wasn't yesterday, but here I am today. We have Swamp Dweller kicking things off. Little Timmy James will be here with the UFO report as well. It's the Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. So let's get right to it. It's sad to say, but Bryan Bowden is going to be looking for a new home here soon. Yes, he is, because, and I'm proud to say, next month, Varla Ventura will be coming back from her health cause, and she will be ready to go. And that's not a shot against Bryan. Bryan is one of the great friends of Spaced Out Radio. He's one of the only ones, literally, when you are in a bind and you call him up and say, Bryan, I need you. He's like, where, when, how? He's like that 3 a.m. dude that you need, that 3 a.m. friend that is there. He doesn't ask questions. He just shows up and helps the best that he can. I love Bryan Bowden. He is one of the best dudes in this field. He's got a good beard as well, and he knows his monsters. He's a researcher. He's been on TV series, documentaries. He is a podcaster with great, great talent. And even though, I bug him about having, like 8,000 podcasts at once, realistically, it's only about 5,200, just to be blunt. No, I'm teasing again. But we're going to get into some monster talk tonight. We love it when Bryan is here. And Bryan, thank you from all of us at Spaced Out Radio for filling in for Varla Ventura while she has been ill. And it's great to have you here on the show, my man.
Oh, it's great to be here. And better news is that Varla is feeling better. And We wish her the best. Let her have a full recovery and continue on with Spaced Out Radio and doing cryptids and what she does. So I'm looking forward to getting some sleep these days.
You are
Yeah.
East Coast, so you're up a lot longer than we are out here in the West Coast, man. And we appreciate you staying up late and being here for us. Bryan, you're always you're that guy. I'm just going to be honest with you. You're that guy. You are that 3 a.m. friend in this field, and a lot of people don't have that friend that can just pop in at any time on a few minutes' notice with a phone call. Yet you're that guy, and I just want to say we really do appreciate you around here, my friend.
Well, I'm very honored to be part of Spaced Out Radio family, and not only in that chat room right there with all these great listeners and fans, but also friends with you. And yeah, this is what you do. You come 3 a.m. I grab the shovel, the lye, the duct tape, and we're good. We'll go out. We'll take care of whatever the problem is. So.
You love monsters. You
I
love
do.
Dogman. You love Bigfoot. You love the cryptids. You love the paranormal. You love the UFOs and aliens. What is that love all about, man? Because a lot of people would look at you and say, "Dude, you're not normal for liking this stuff, man."
Oh, I had like several conversations with my family about paranormal and what I do. It's the questions that I have. Why, who, where did they come from? Why are they here? What's going on? And you want answers to those questions. And I'll be brutally honest. I had this discussion on my show this week. We go out looking for these things. And sometimes it's, at the end when the investigation's over or wherever you're going is over, you're like, wow, that was really stupid. You put yourself in bad positions, and it's just, I don't know. There's not a rush as much as I want to know more. I'm waiting for that moment. I don't know about you, Dave, but I'm waiting for that moment that I have the telepathic communication with one of these cryptids. I've had it technically in a way with the Dogman last summer when I brought my buddies up. They wanted to see Bigfoot, and well, they got a Dogman instead, and they still have. I mean, I tried seeing them this summer in the New York area, and they won't go anywhere near me. They got the stuff scared out of them. I forgot we're on radio, so I'll be very gentle. But when you see that, you're like, this shouldn't be. You see a 6 foot, all intents and purposes, werewolf, and you're like, okay, this is crazy, but it's there and it's growling at you, and it's showing the front canines, and they're big, and the claws, and it's basically saying, get out of here. I still don't like that cryptid. I just don't. But I just want answers. I want to have that dialogue with them. And I think you want to have that dialogue with them too. Yeah,
I do. Let's talk about that, because
sure.
Honestly, if I could have my dream of any type of encounter, I have two. I have two dreams.
Hold on. Is this safe for radio, Dave?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
I have to be safe because I think my dad is listening tonight.
Oh my
He's
God.
trying to impress a new lady in his life. So I think he's showing off about how weird his son is right now. So my dad is actually tuned in. Hi, Dad, if you're listening.
That's awesome.
So, I know. Be good, Dad. Be good, Papa.
Yeah.
But
that's my boy.
Yeah, so anyways, I have two wishes in this field.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's hear them.
One wish would be for a UFO to land in my backyard.
Okay.
Okay, because my backyard is dark enough for that to happen.
Okay.
And it's covered enough where, because we don't get a lot of air traffic around here, that it would be easy for it to come on in. We've had a lot of UFO sightings around our area over the years. We've been here almost 10 years. And I could tell you this, man. I want to see if I am brave enough to walk up to it.
The craft or the creatures that come out, the extraterrestrials,
the craft first and foremost. Okay. the craft first and foremost. And hopefully I'm brave enough to see the creatures. Now,
That's your
the other
first
one,
end of it? Yeah, okay.
the other one, we'll talk about it here in a second. The other one would be I want to have that clear, close encounter with a Sasquatch. Like I'm talking within 20 feet. I want to just sit there, and I already know what I would say. And it's going to sound silly, but I just want to say thank you. You know what I'm saying? I just want to tell it how beautiful it is, and thank you. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, after all this time of, you know, yes, I've seen them. I've seen 3 of them. Okay, I know I've been close to a few of them that have surrounded me, but I just want that close encounter where I could just look at it and it look at me and just say thanks.
I mean, I
No
can
cameras,
appreciate. Yeah,
no
I can
cameras,
appreciate
no
that.
nothing.
Well, on your first one, I brought in a craft in Pine Bush that was a couple acres wide. It was gunmetal black, had that center dome like the LED lights that, you know, I mean, where it's white, bright white, but you can still look at it and not blind yourself with it. It
Yes.
lit up below, just like you would see in any of those extraterrestrial. All the people in front of me were lit up, and it was pretty damn close. I would say it was no more than 12 to 15 stories above us. So that's 150 feet, no more. It was massive. It listened. I asked it to go out to the mountains, do some maneuvers, right angles, high speed. It did it. Everybody was blown away. It came back, then it disappeared. We asked it to come back one more time. It did. It responded to laser, SOS type of thing, and I mean that was pretty amazing. But to have one actually land in your backyard where you can physically touch the craft,
Yes.
I'm with you on it, but what's the health ramifications of touching something like that? Not to back away from it, but
I get you.
I mean, how many times we've heard stories of matter of fact, what's his name? The one in South America where they literally physically picked up the extraterrestrial and everybody got sick, like really, really sick from touching it. We don't know what the health ramifications are. So that may be your last final moment getting your wish if you do that. I agree with you. If there was a way to go inside that craft and have a dialogue with them, not just we're going to abduct you and do whatever, I think that would be great. I'd love that. As far as the Bigfoot is concerned of that cryptid, I agree with you. My first experience happened way back in late 70s, and I was about 10 years old, 9 or 10, forgot what, and that Bigfoot's head was 3 feet wide, massive, and it was no more than 6 inches from my foot. And I literally was staring at it was just this pure, dark, black, giant gorilla, human. It had human characteristics to it. It was just massive, and I was overwhelmed by it. I wasn't thinking Bigfoot because when you were younger, we didn't have the Bigfoot on. I didn't think it was on the East Coast. Everything was out the Patterson, film and whatever West Coast. But little did I know, Connecticut, New York State, all the way down Appalachia. I mean, we have a lot more Bigfoot and cryptids on the East Coast than the West Coast would ever even dream. Even the Midwest, we have a lot more than that. But that was unnerving. But now I would probably be like, what's your name? Or try to speak to it, maybe using my consciousness to speak the inner monologue and see if it would respond. That would be really, really cool.
Right.
I think it would be great.
I don't know, but here's the thing, Brian. We can sit here and talk tough and talk that we want this to happen, but there's a reality to it too. And that reality is I'm very familiar with it. we don't really know if we would be able to handle it.
That was there was another individual that brought up on a show that I just jumped in midday, and one of his audience members, he did like, come on board, sent out the link, people jumped into the studio. He goes, how do you handle that experience? And if you're not ready for it, you don't handle it well. I told you, I have two friends that, well, former friends, they won't talk to me. They want nothing to do with me. That really unnerved them enough. I think there's some of them, I think both of them are seeking some kind of therapy about, the encounter with the dog man. Bigfoot's it's more palatable, and you can digest it a little bit better, but you're still seeing a 7-foot primate. But it depends on the interaction, the experience at that moment. But a lot of times you have what we call depends moments. Those undergarments men, older people wear to protect themselves, because pucker up, buttercup. It's really unnerving. I can't explain, but you can just feel how big that presence is, and what it can do to you without even thinking about it. So yeah, there's a lot of factors in that interaction that will make you or break you.
I would agree with you on that 100%. I mean, you got to be able to learn that being on the computer or being in front of your television saying, this is what I would do, or I would grab my camera and take that photo, or I would chase it down along that deer trail, that's just not a reality, Bryan. It's just not a reality when put in that situation, when you realize how big these creatures are and how you are really testing your own mortality.
100%. I've have a couple of decades of experience under my belt. Not that I'm Mr. Macho or super, I'm tough. I mentally prepare for investigations all the time. I also do a remote viewing session prior, and I try to remote view. I do use remote viewing when we're there to see if they're coming out. I've been pretty accurate about that. I can tell you one recently I was not able to get to before I came back up to New York for a little bit. But I was spot on with everything I was telling my friend Stevie, who was on the West Coast of Florida looking, and everything. I even drew it out on the phone. I'm like, this is where, he's going to be. There's another one here. And he was like, dude, you were spot on about the whole damn thing. But I mentally prepare because I've experienced the large, like, oh my God, there it is, and it's massive and at a distance. Only rarely do you get an up close and personal encounter with this, the Bigfoot and the Dogman. It's usually totally accidental. They're not paying attention to you and you're not paying attention to them, and you kind of walk up on it, and then they go in a defensive posture, and there's a little bit of tension there. But if you back out with the Dogman, they usually let you go. They just want to go about their way. Bigfoot's a little bit different. I think it's curious about us. Fearful, but curious. And, that could be a better interaction. But it's hard for people that this is stuff of movies and nightmares, right? And now it's live in front of your face, 20 feet from you. You're like, that's got to be a costume. How many times have people said that? You've listened to people, oh, it has to be a costume. And, they want to debunk it. It's not a costume. You can feel the ground. It's kind of like when, like, you have a Clydesdales I've had, go past. You can feel the ground, like, shudder. It's big. It's massive. It's got a great beard. So.
Do you think people really know, like those who have never had a Bigfoot encounter, do you think they really know what it's like?
No. When you get people like, for example, right now in Tennessee's had a lot of upticks of the wild man, Bigfoot. And I prefer to call it Bigfoot than Sasquatch, just so people know. Some people call it Sabe. I've heard from a couple of people who had, mind speak, we'll call it. They said, we don't like Bigfoot. We don't like Sasquatch. We're Sabe. We're Saba. Based on male or female and their ranking in their clan. Like, who's the big dad? Like, your dad's watching. Well, you would be the smaller version of that. But most of these people are unnerved by it. There was a gentleman in Tennessee just recently. He was hunting, outdoorsman, decades since he was a kid, not fearful of the woods whatsoever, has the 308, and he got approached and chased by a Bigfoot or a wild man. He got out of there as quick as possible. I think it was in East Tennessee, by the way. And he tore off, and he's not handling it very well. He's afraid to go in the woods again. So he's, this is what I'm getting report wise. And I don't blame you. I was on another show, not mine, not one of my 5,000 that you say, but the guy that started it, Craig, was like, he always takes the Occam razor approach. The simplest or the easiest solution is the answer. No, he said, I've been in the woods of, he was in Washington State, I believe, Oregon, Washington State, one of the two, Bigfoot country. And I was in the woods for 7 days, hunting, and I didn't hear a thing or see a thing. But he didn't think properly. Bigfoot knows what a rifle is. They know what a firearm is. And they know what it can do to you. Do you think it's just going to come up, hey, when you kill one, can you kill another one so I can take it home? No, they're not going to go anywhere near you with a firearm. So his logic was pretzeled, but I don't think, he's a really great guy, but I don't think he has the constitution. If he was face to face with it, he would do everything in his power to debunk it. Like, now, it's probably a guy in a ghillie suit. We've heard that a lot of times. Ghillie suits. 7, 8, 9 foot people don't go in the woods and dress up in ghillie suits to scare people. For the most part, they don't. We don't know what part of the country we're in, but a lot of people just don't have the constitution where they can't handle it. This is the same thing with extraterrestrials. When people get abducted, depending on what race is abducting them, and they get sent back, 99% of people don't even realize they've been abducted because there's a certain process they're going through. They're collecting stuff, and it's a violation of your own, body. It's almost like a rape type of thing, be it men or women. They're taking your eggs, women. They're taking sperm in really weird ways. Their hybridization of your sperm with an alien race or vice versa with the eggs. And then sometimes they present the child to you, which does not look anything like you would expect, and people just can't handle it. So what they do is they block that out, and you go about your life. It feels like something's happened. You're unnerved. You don't know what's going on, a little bit more tense, because there's a part of your brain that'll always kind of want the truth to get out. But they purposely block it because you can't handle it. But the more and more you are abducted by extraterrestrials, you become desensitized for the most part, and then they let you remember things.
Bryan Bowden is here with Our Cryptid World. You can find all of his podcasts. Go to the Bryan Bowden Podcast Network. It's literally got about 5,000 of these things to choose from. Yeah, he is somebody who is well-versed in the cryptid community, and that's why we love him here on Spaced Out Radio, filling in for Varla Ventura on Our Cryptid World. Sir, Bryan Bowden will return with me, Dave Scott, right after this. Is that Fanta?
Yes, sir.
You can't
It's
find
Fanta.
Fanta. You can't
It's
find
pineapple.
Fanta up here.
Well, I mean, if I get a chance to go up there, I'll bring you a case of, what do you want? Grape, pineapple, strawberry.
Cream soda.
You want cream soda?
You know, when when I'm driving in the U.S. and the cream soda is what
Dr. Brown's cream soda. It's the best.
God.
I'd mail it
There
to you,
is-
but it costs me an arm and a leg.
I can tell you this, man. The hardest drink to find in Canada is cream soda.
Why is that? I think,
I don't know.
you know, you
Hi,
should
Terry,
become
in the chat
the
room. What is
importer.
squatching? What is squatching? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what squatching is.
Melissa, how are you?
That's something Bobo.
Try to find cream soda in Canada, man.
I'm going to find it for you.
Yeah.
You may have to get it from soda. You may be able to get it on the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
the only way there's only 2 cream sodas that I can find up here. And one is really hard, you know, like Dad's root beer. Do you have Dad's root beer?
They make a
you
cream
got Dad's
soda
cream
too.
soda. And
that's not that good.
Crush cream soda.
Crush cream soda? We have Crush down here, but we don't I don't think we have cream soda in the States like that. But okay. There's a company that makes red cream soda. See, this is what I'm talking about. Stop going to damn Las Vegas. Move it a little bit to Orlando or the Florida region. We don't have a cryptid thing. And then you get the best of both worlds, and you get cream sodas and some other drinks that we have here. Stewart's root beer. Yeah, they make cream soda and root beer. Woo woo. It's you know, there's some good cream soda. It would be too expensive to ship it to you.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we'll find a conference that you're going to be at and I'm going to be at, and I'll just bring this kid. Oh, Mr. Scott, thank God for you checked in. 6 cases of cream soda have arrived for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have good beer down here either. So
True.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, I mean, how do you know? I was going to ask you that question, and I can ask you when we get back. How do you know you haven't had a UFO land in your backyard?
Oh, they could have very well. I just have not. I want to see it wide awake, Brian. Like none of this.
Oh, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Guy's batting .322 on the season. Already with 24 home runs and 68 RBIs. Hasn't even hit the All-Star break yet.
The red cream soda is what you want.
Oh.
You gotta try the red cream soda. It's really, really good.
There is a cream soda. My dad always used to get it. I think it's called Mount Sassafras. And maybe it's only available on the West Coast. But it's the actual true color of cream soda, which is clear.
Yeah.
And it is amazing.
There's a I think it's Foxtron, Foxtron, or T-O, whatever it is, Foxton. It's out of New Haven, Connecticut. It's all pure sugar-based sugarcane, and they make a cream soda that it is really, it's all clear.
So craving cream soda. Now, I could go to 7-Eleven and pick up a cream soda slushy like that.
So who makes the slushy?
I don't know. Hold on, I got a surprise for you here.
Oh, God.
It's B. Arthur. There he is. B. Arthur.
What's up?
How you doing?
I just had Brent on. What's going on, Brent?
Yeah, Brian and I just traded shows not too long ago. We did a marathon.
Yeah, we did like a telethon, like a Jerry Lewis telethon. Hopefully Brent got a lot of super chats in that thing.
Yeah,
it went on for a while. It was great.
Yeah, how's this for an impromptu? I just barge in. I just scratch on the window like a kitten until somebody opens. That's wonderful.
I thought it'd be fun to have. Brian, I thought it'd be fun for Brent to join us.
That's fine. That is good stuff. I'm that like, let's bring the more the merrier. Who brought the beer though? You know what? If we drink, see, I would say beer because if we drink rum, we're going to take over somebody else's podcast. That's how it works. A shot across their bow, Mr. Brent.
What do you think I'm here for, huh?
This one definitely would not be going to the radio if the rum came out. Hold on right there, guys. Big thank you to Kitty, T-Bone, Mel WD 40 ×2, and Aussie Ange. Thank you for the love. The Super Chat is a great way to support what we do. And here we go with the second half hour. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, Our Cryptid World with Bryan Bowden, and we've been joined by a special guest from the Paranormal Portal podcast. The Triple P himself, B. Arthur Brent Thomas, is here with us tonight. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Bryan Bowden, Our Cryptid World, the man with 4,688 podcasts, the man with one podcast, because he's normal, from the Paranormal Portal podcast. Brent Thomas has joined us here for the second half hour. Gents, welcome back. Brent, let's get you in here because you're new here. How would you react if all of a sudden you were face to face with a Sasquatch?
Wow. You know, I think that would be a double tough thing to say, to try to conceptualize. And I've thought about this a lot because I don't think we really can understand the emotional and psychological impact, unless you've already had a sighting like you gentlemen, of course. But what is that impact like to walk just like you're on a mountain path and suddenly something steps out that's like twice you? It's like, 8-9 feet tall. It outweighs you by about 1,000 pounds. And it usually doesn't look happy to see you. And how do you process that? And I would love to say, well, I just sit and wave and see if he wants a piece of jerky or something. But, honestly, there'd probably be a big fudge stripe from me back to my parking car, Yeah.
But that's what I was saying before.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I think I would be full of I would want to embrace that moment because I think that there's something extraordinarily special about it. But I still have to be honest about the fact that you've got to process that moment in real time. And I would love to say that I think these things are always the great forest protectors and big brothers of the woods and stuff, but I can't ignore all of the First Nation stories I've heard, which seem to, not all of them, but some of them have horrifying, encounters with these things. So I don't know which one you got when it steps out. Which one is that? The good one, or is that the one that wants to, put you on a spit over a roast,
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. It really does depend if are you getting a young, teen version of Bigfoot? They do exist and they're in a rut. They're like, I need to get my, procreation on, and what the reaction of that would be, because they can be aggressive. We've had that, but we've also brought women along with us, and they smell everything about them, and it's like a really good country western bar on Friday nights. They're ready to fight. So we have to back them out. It depends on the situation. The more it happens, and I'm not saying it happens to me all the time, it does not. You can go out 100 times and see nothing, and then you go say, hey, I'm going to go to the store, and there it is walking across the street. So it's not predictable. But after a while, when you do have the encounters, you're over that, oh my God, moment, and trying to process it. And then you're like, now everyone thereafter, you're trying to pick up all those little nuances, like, oh, there was a part on this side, it was a female, or it was a male, you'll notice of these other things. But there'll be other people that are with you, screaming, hyperventilating, running. and it happen. It depends moment. Make sure you have your tidy whities, the clean ones ready, and it's an awe moment. I can't explain it. It's just
Hey, Dave,
Yes.
how long have you been doing interviews in this subject matter or any subject matter, I guess?
Well, I've been a journalist since 1998.
Okay. Now I've
And
been
then
at
I
it.
had a 7-year break in between radio and like when I left my mainstream radio career to starting this show. And I've been
Okay.
doing this show now for 10 years.
So a long time. Now I've been doing it since 2016, and I'm here to tell you, I've never interviewed anybody like Bryan before because
oh, okay. I'm leaving now. Good night.
you're awesome. You're awesome. I loved interviewing you when you were on the portal because you have such character and color and you bring such life to an interview. So I really enjoyed talking to you.
I
When
appreciate that. I've always said, like, there are people like have said I joke around a lot. I try to be it when I do tell you from my experiences and what I know. Oh, I know I have to be entertaining and informative and whatever. I've had interviews where people just talk like this and they don't, it's like, oh my God. And then I have people that are clearly making up stuff that I've interviewed. I don't point it out. I just, it's known. But I tell you, like, I usually have a good time and I try to have fun and I make jokes at almost every type of occasion, good or bad. And I've always said that if I'm serious, we're in trouble. And I mean that sincerely. Like there's something major happening.
Yeah.
So if I get really, really serious about something, depending on what it is, pay attention. Because that's when I worry. At that point. I still worry if I don't like seeing the dog man. I'm gonna be honest. There's something about it. It's just
Dave and I were talking about that too. It's like, man.
It's even though I've gotten passes the couple of times I've seen them, I think they are just totally aware of what they look like and the fear. I think they feel or sense the fear and they know, yeah, I got this one. Oh, I got this one. And they love it and they play on and they prey on it. And I just don't like it. It's like coming up against a rabid pit bull, or when my dog was sick, I had a bull terrier. And when his kidneys were failing, it was no joke. Like, when I said, Doc, put the muzzle on him, my doctor looked at me like, really? I'm like, put it on. You don't want to go up against something like that. But Bigfoot's not like Harry and the Hendersons. You're not going to bring it home and, and like have the, like the stupid thing there. Bigfoots have abducted men and women and children from forest and other places. They've had relations with human beings. They've even taken the heads off of people and consumed. They're not, they're not the guardian angels or the sweethearts of the cryptid world. They're still whatever they are and leaning more towards a species. It could be animal, it could be human, it could be a combination of both. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on what you're encountering. And I also believe that I'm going to get so much crap for this, but it's fine. I believe that with the Dogman and the Bigfoot, they are all part of the same family. And the Dogmen and the 7 different variants of them are defects or inbred defects that cause them, and then they get ostracized from the actual Bigfoot clan. Because you can see a lot of similarities in certain things. So, and that's just Bigfoot, but if you go up against the swamp ape down in Florida, the skunk ape, that's nasty. It's like a really bad orangutans are nasty. And then go to Ohio and try to meet the grass man because there's so few people interacting with it. It's super aggressive. The Yeti's aggressive because it depends on the population of people around you. So you never know what you're going to get.
But you also look at the Bigfoot that are seen, Brian, within the Louisiana, Texas area. You know, those the boogers that are down there. I mean, they seem to be smaller. They seem to be, in that 6 to 7.5 foot range. They're not like the West Coast Pacific Northwest that are seen between 7 and 10 feet tall. If not bigger, the more north you go. I mean, but they seem a lot more aggressive, probably because of their environment. I mean, if you're having to dodge alligators and alligator gar and all sorts of poisonous snakes and feral hogs and all of that, I mean, that's an aggressive area. Never
Yeah.
mind the fact that, it's 150 degrees in the forest those days with all sorts of bugs and mosquitoes coming at you. I mean, I wouldn't be too happy there either.
Oh, I've been in that forest down in the south, in the hotter areas. Matter of fact, when we were in Mayaca Forest in Florida, it was beyond, like, I think it was like 300% humidity. It was insane, and it went throughout the entire night. It was like 100 and something degrees the entire night while we're investigating. And you want to investigate with long, some people go out with shorts. I'm like top to bottom. And when I went to sleep at night, I knew this Bigfoot was peeking in on me in my car. I was so seized up, I couldn't get into my tent because it was too low. So I sat in my car with my hand on my firearm, and I just had this vibe. Something's there. And then I saw the breath, and it went across my glass on the passenger side. And I said, "You can watch me all you want, big boy. I'm going to bed." And I went to bed. But that's a bit unnerving too. You know, it depends on the moment. There was a down in Florida, another state forest. There was a French Canadian family that came down because they vacation in Florida. They rented out a campsite, supposed to say Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They left Saturday because, and the ranger's like, "Why are you leaving? You had the weekend." He goes, "Well, that bear that was watching us all night, all day, and all night on Friday was unnerving for my kids and ourselves. It wasn't a bear; it was Bigfoot."
Oof.
There's just in the same area on a different end of this forest. This is recent. There's a guy that owns property there, but his buddy comes up with a trailer, and there was a huge footprint banging on the trail, like putting dents in the trail in the middle of the night, because I guess the generator was going. And this Bigfoot was like, "What are you doing?" Probably scaring off his prey, like deer or whatever it is. And let me tell you something. I'm a cancer baby, so when I get hungry, I get hangry. I don't want to argue like Chinese, whatever. Feed me now. I don't play the game. So just think about this Bigfoot. That's why they also get pissed off at hunters. You just took my kill. I'm gonna go get you now.
I've wondered about that. I almost think that hunting for them is like the ringing the dinner bell, because I've talked to hunters, and one of them is my own brother. He had got this deer, and he got it good, and he had a great trail to follow, and he tracked it into the deeper brush and stuff. And then he got to a spot. He knew it was going to be dropping somewhere really close, but he got to a spot after he was tracking it, and it was just gone. And
it most likely was taken by
right. That's what I'm thinking too. And I'm just thinking, as adept and agile and cunning and at home in the woods as they are, compared to us, who even our best woodsmen are relatively clumsy, in natural terms versus the wildlife. And I know they can just easily strategically outmaneuver us. And they probably just wait for something like that to happen and go, boom, there's lunch. Yeah.
Well, that's their supermarket. And if you're taking it away from them, or, a lot of them work in tandem, that, one will set a trap, drive them into, a blind area, and then boom, the one grabs it and takes it, and they can split it. I would see it. I would have asked your brother, like, did you look up? because believe it or not, what they do is you may not see it running through the woods. It may just go up and be, 20 feet in the air.
Right.
I've seen that. I've seen a couple of those where you're going through the forest, and I'm always scanning, from the ground up to a certain point, because these things are not just on the ground.
Yeah.
They are in trees. And I've seen deer like a couple 100 pounds, 9-pointer, 8-pointer, and it's hanging in a tree, not with a rope, not like somebody like a hunter would. This thing is like way up there. I'm like, how did it get there? Now we do have Florida. I don't want to say it, Dave. Florida Panthers. Sorry, Dave.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Had to get that in there, right?
No, I didn't mean it. But the Panthers will go up, and big cats will go take their prey higher. But I mean, that's it's just it. It would be interesting. Do you think your brother would be able to handle that kind of encounter?
No, I mean, he has no room for any of this stuff in his life, really. So he's on the other complete opposite part of the spectrum of this.
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm the oddball of the family, so.
Oh, I get it all the time. And I always get the, listen, we're going to this party. Please don't talk about the paranormal. And I said, okay, no problem. And then someone will bring something up. And then another person knows that I'm into it is there. And they'll go, well, Bryan's into that. So he invested.
They pull you in.
Yeah. And then I get the look and I'm like, yeah, so it's all good. I don't mind being an oddball. It's fine.
Let me ask you guys, and Bryan, we'll start with you on this one here. People talk about the encounters that they'd love to have and how they would always grab that photograph. Because the first thing that you always hear the skeptics say is, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Where's your video? Why didn't you pull out your camera? Talk about how hard it is in those fleeting seconds when you have an encounter to actually grab your camera, even if it's on your phone, and take that picture or video.
It's you have a better shot hitting the lottery. There was one time, I don't know if it was precognition, when we were on a day-night investigation. We had a Bigfoot encounter. We had the bluff charge. We had the tree knocks, the whoop, whoop, whoop. And then we didn't move, and it got pissed off, and it threw a big boulder at my direction. Could have killed me. He did not. I think he was like, I hate you guys, like, why did you move, man? So, but when we were walking, we had a UFO experience. I remember before we left that campsite to go, and then we had the experience, I took my camera, I was putting it in my bag, put it on my backpack. And something said, Bryan, don't be the guy that doesn't have the camera. So I put it in my breast pocket, and I happened to catch some video of a UFO. To get a Bigfoot, first of all, I think they understand your energy and they don't want to be filmed. And I think I do believe they can be flesh and blood and intrinsically have the ability to change their shape and molecular structure and then go interdimensional. So when you pull out that camera, it's as quick. It's just intuitiveness. They're already in the process of changing, and they're drawing your battery energy away from your camera because they're pulling out the free energy that's just on the earth. Look at Tesla. We've talked about this a dozen times. Wireless charging. They can do that. That's why your cameras get drawn, because they're using every bit of energy. You need more energy to convert energy than the process. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's not conducive to do different conversions of energy. You're not going to get the camera out fast enough. I still like the Patterson footage. And I think they were at the right place, the right time. And that machine, that camera was film, no electronics in it. And they happened to get that, whatever they can get on horseback of that creature moving. I don't believe any of the other stories. I think people are trying to make stuff up or take advantage of, individuals that were there that are frail right now. But I do believe that was Patty, a female, and with a baby.
A good point, though, Sorry
Yeah.
for cutting you off. You bring up
No
a
problem.
good point, though, as we got about 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. I don't think that we have had any quality footage of a Sasquatch since Patterson-Gimlin. Sure, there's a couple of other films out there that are really, really interesting, but clear cut for that length of time,
Oh yeah.
I don't think we've had a good one since. And with the change of technology that's happening so fast, especially with AI, I don't know if we'll get one again.
I mean, my theory from my research is when they are unaware they're being observed, they don't have to put the defenses on. So in situations where they're unaware, that eagle camera that was focused on the nest, and on the side you saw down at the bottom what looked like a bipedal monkey doing its thing and playing, because it's unaware it's being videotaped or filmed. So it doesn't have any reason to draw the energy out and hide. That's when you're going to get them. It's you know what, you're going to get them. You will have a better success rate going into the woods and driving with your dash cam. That's where 99% of the sightings are going to come from. But it's so quick. You don't understand. These things can take a 60-foot leap without even thinking about it. I know it sounds exaggerated, but it's the truth. They move like the wind. That's how quick they are. And, in the video running from behind me, it's super, super quick. It's like trying to catch a puppy or take a piglet, put grease on it, put it in a school. We did that. I did that. And let it loose and watch people try to catch it. You're not going to do it. But it's those little moments where you're going to I think I got it. I saw it. Please let it be on my camera, because it's just going about its business. But otherwise,
What's your thoughts?
Well, I think Bryan hit on all of the really big points. Like, just for an example, I mean, most people that have encounters aren't expecting an encounter. So and again, bringing you back to what I do, you're not, how do you conceptualize something that big and just being right there and dealing with it and then go, oh, wait, let me get a selfie. I just don't think people do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. Most encounters are allegedly like 3 seconds long. I was fishing earlier today, and I had about a 8-second shot of an eagle coming in and grabbing a fish like not far from us. And there was no way I could have got my cell phone up and recorded that. And that wasn't something I wasn't even terrified of. It was like, oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Let me get it. And by the time I even had my phone in my hand, it was gone. So yeah, I think that's absolutely correct.
you have to have equipment on that is running, and you have to have not only just a regular camera going. I would really want a FLIR camera at the same time, because heat signatures, it doesn't matter if this thing goes interdimensional or uses like a cloaking. So that basically the reason why that you get that predator look is they have it's called soft physics, and they're able to change the melatonin in their body, and it reflects light so that it looks like they're invisible, but they're not. There's a lot of animals do it. Hummingbirds change their color, by flapping to different colors, because they're changing their melatonin in certain fluids that are on the skin. So, but with a FLIR, even when it goes into an atomic state or an electronic like orb type state, you still see that head and the body figures before it slowly dissipates into orbs. And that's why people are seeing orbs and flashes of light. The flashes of light are the final stage when it goes from flesh and blood into electronic. Boom. Just, and then it'll do it again when it goes interdimensional. It's the same thing. Sonic boom. Once it hits, that's the result. All that energy to get the boom, you're gone. And then you don't hear another sonic boom. It just does its thing. So it's crazy. You need to run cameras 24/7, and they know what they are.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. B. Arthur, are you going to stick around?
I got time. Oh,
right on.
Thank you.
Our Cryptid World, Bryan and B, up next in hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Oh, you have me laughing, dude. You have me laughing.
I just noticed my name. What's like, oh no. Oh no. I wish I could change yours. You'd be Betty White by the next break.
E. Arthur.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's golden, man. That's why I called him that. He's golden.
Yeah, you got to go change shirts, Dave. You're not matching. We're Bryan and I are.
I'll go find something. I'll go for a wardrobe change.
Yeah, I bought
back.
this one because there's a
You guys
Sasquatch
chat
on the
away.
back.
All right.
But yeah, I bought it for the Sasquatch on the back. I had to go up to the whatever the surf shops were, and in Florida, the family like, we want to go someplace, and I'm like, I got an idea. There's a boat leaving for China right now. No, I'm joking. So we went up to I forgot the name of it. It's big surf company.
Like
it's just
Ron
a lot
John?
of it. Yeah, Ron John, that's the one. You know what I like? I like some of their designs. Like when you go someplace, like you get a great design shirt, like a pirate type of shirt, and then it says like, Jersey Shore or Fort Lauderdale. I get your town off the damn thing. I don't want it. Just give me the plain shirt.
Yeah.
It's
That's all that
crazy.
the branding encouraging tourism, probably.
Branding is fine, but I it ruins a good design, in general. Like the only design that I liked, we went to the Amish country, when my kids were younger. So we went to the Amish house, and the Mennonite woman was telling, what's this? And I said, oh, that's a button. And then they're looking at me, and then everything she said, I knew what it was. So at the end of the tour, she goes, excuse me, are you, former Amish? I'm like, no. I just know a lot of stupid stuff. Everybody was looking at me like, how do you know this? And I'm like, when I'm bored, I don't watch TV. I read stupid things. But they have some really strange names for Amish, this religious group. And they have blue balls, bowl in hand, and all these different areas. So I go to pick up my daughter, who is in 4th grade, wearing like a sand color shirt that says I Heart Intercourse PA.
Oh no. Wow.
Yeah, it was an Intercourse PA. And everybody's looking, all these parents are looking at me. And I'm like, the other half was like, what shirt did you wear to pick up? And I'm like, I wore the I Heart Intercourse. I'm like, that's what I thought.
Hey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a drink.
Yeah.
I'm bone dry here, so I just finished my water. I'll be right back in just a minute.
Well, because I'm on camera anyhow, and I don't care, but this is the only thing I do. I don't even drink anymore. It's no fun. I have to be the guy that comes at 3 a.m. to save people's asses. But it's more of it's not really pinky, a little bit like that. Coral. I love pink. Pink is a great color. And I did have cancer at one point, so I am allowed to wear it. But pink looks good. Actually, all colors look good. Yes, here, I'll step out of the way. I made the I have an animated background, so I can change it. And so I figure we're talking about cryptids, so I throw all those things in there. The problem is there's too many of these Bigfoot videos out now. I mean, they're fun and all, but some of them are getting crazy. But I look for, Mothman and Loch Ness and E.T. And so if you want to know what it is, it's VCAM, VCAM. And it's pretty damn cool. And the only reason why I put up this type of background is because someone commented I do a show every other week called Awaken Nation or the Wake Nation. And someone said, maybe you should clean up the room behind you. And I'm like, maybe you should live with 3 women in your life. Shut the hell up. They keep putting stuff in my office. And then like, oh, Dad's such a slob. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay.
I couldn't find any red. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Your gnomes are pretty cool too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got about 55 seconds.
Okay.
Just enough time to change my name.
You could change
Tesser
it.
Cat, how you doing? Kevin Kennedy, nice to see you.
They should allow you to do that while you're on the air, like to edit your name, but they don't. For some reason you can't do it. You have to go out.
I did it.
Come back in.
You can do it.
Oh, I don't even bother. When you're the host, well,
yeah, you got to be brave to do it.
yeah.
Thank you to
T-Bone.
Mel WD 40 times 2,
awesome.
Ozzy Ange, T-Bone, and Kitty Caddywhack for the great super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love and support. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, or on Bryan's channel or on B's channel. Make sure you check it on out. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for choosing to tune us in with your tinfoil on, your scented candles burning, and, of course, your eyes to the sky, because there is no skies out there. There's only one sky. So we're just going to clarify that for you. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lubricious. Lubricious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our Cryptid World continues with Sir Bryan Bowden, the man with more than a couple thousand podcasts simultaneously running at once. And from the Paranormal Portal podcast, we have B. Arthur himself. Brent Thomas is here. Gentlemen, we're talking cryptids tonight. All things monsters. Why? Because we love this topic. We do. So let's get right into it. Why do we fear this so much, Bryan? What is their great fear? Is it horror movies that have caused these fears of monsters like Bigfoot? Is it legends from thousands of years ago running up to, when the settlers first came here in the 1700s, having encounters? What do you think it is? What is the fear?
I think there's 2 parts to that. One, I'm going to use a word, but it's not normal. If we think we know what normal is, we as humans think this is normal. Our lives are normal, and this is just make believe or fairy tales, fables, right? So that's what on that end of it. But also, it's a control issue. If people at this point, if people were told Bigfoot's real, Dogman's real, the Mothman and all these things are real, it would have a dramatic effect on extraterrestrials, on how the world operates, how people think. Well, you've been lying to us about this. What else are you lying to? You know what? I'm not going to listen to your rules anymore. I'm going to do whatever you want. So there's a little bit of that aspect of it. So they lose the control over the masses. Then there's a financial aspect of it at this point. If you declare Bigfoot real, that totally just, there'll always be a group that comes up like save the Bigfoot. Now you don't have the logging industry anymore, billions of dollars. Now you don't have tourism in the national parks. There goes billions of dollars. They don't want you to know it's real. But I'm sure all of us researchers and investigators out there, We have ideas and we have hypotheses, but there are experts in this field that know a lot more than us, and they work in a bunker someplace deep in the woods, and they got the Bigfoot locked up and the dogman, and they've been doing experiments on it. They don't want this out. How do you explain it?
I think that there would be real ramifications if it came out. If they were able to prove Sasquatch was real, okay? Because I think, once again, much like UFOs, I think the disclosure of Sasquatch or any of these cryptids is for the person who has the experience with them.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. But if they came out and let's say they found a body and came out and say, we've found Sasquatch, I think that would cause a ripple effect, and not a good ripple effect for a lot of these fields. Like, I hope it's never found. Like, publicly never found. If you go out in the forest and you have that encounter and you find it for yourself, wonderful, great. But I don't think that, it's something that we're ever going to find a body. And if they did release a body, that there's a body out there and they've done science on it and they've decided to call it the North American Gigantopithecus or whatever it may be, I think that would cause a lot of stress, not only on the environment, but in the public on its own.
Oh, 100%. Here's another problem. So if that came out, Bigfoots are real, everybody that investigates Bigfoots and the cryptids, you're going to have to almost assume that the other cryptids are real too. And then therefore they'll regulate it. Regulation. People have to be licensed to go investigate it. And then they'll be taxed. And then on top, that's another aspect or adding on to the problem. Then you get the church aspect of it. And I'm a God-fearing person, very spiritual, ordained minister, the whole thing, right? But I have a problem. When you research this, and there's a lot of people, I just watched a video a couple of weeks ago where the individual is very well known in the Bigfoot community, getting some really good Bigfoot videos. And he says he doesn't trust them. They're Nephilim or they're demons. And what happens is you're going to get the religious right that are so devoted that anything outside of that religion is going to be the evil part, no matter if it's Christian, Jew, Islamic, Buddhist, whatever. It's just not going to be a good thing. There'll be more fear too. So,
Brent, what's your opinion? What do you think would happen if we proved it?
I think it would be a mess. In a lot of ways, though, quite seriously, I think probably whatever number of these things is already around is most likely a pretty stressed population because they've probably been displaced so many times throughout the last 100 years as we continue to expand our living arrangements to the house with the view and the valley and the nice wooded areas and stuff. And I think that we're probably pushing them in a hard manner already. I don't know how many are out there. I've speculated, God, are there just so many? That's why we get more reports, or is it just we can now talk about it and people are more comfortable and that's how many have always been out there? But I suspect that they're already a mobile population. But here's the thing. I think that human beings destroy what they love. So if these things are ever proven, I think that it would cause an incredible influx of everybody and their brother putting the family in the van or truckster and heading out to the woods to go see a Bigfoot for themselves. Like, that will be the great thing to do. So these things are hanging on because they're choosing our absence, to quote Jurassic Park, but it's true. I mean, they're getting by without us. And I think that the more people, I think it would be contrary to what you're saying, Brian. I think everybody would be heading to the national forests because they want to go see the Bigfoots that are there, and it would push whatever these vulnerable populations are. I think they probably have like a yearly circuit. Like, they probably have a pretty big range, probably parallel or around the grizzly bear type. So it's several hundred miles.
Yep.
and I think they work a cycle, and once people start flooding in there to go see their Bigfoot and get a photo for the family album, the probably would push them out of what rhythm they have to survive. And I just think it would be horrible. And then I think the biggest tragedy would just break my heart to no end, is to go into a zoo and knowing that they had a Bigfoot or something. I think that there probably wouldn't be a bigger tragedy in the world. I mean, these things are whatever they are, and I'm not saying that they're friendly. I'm not saying they're not. I think there's perhaps a huge behavioral spectrum, just like there is for people. Like there's people around that would just as soon, peel my face off as look at me. And then there's other people that would, would take off their shirt if I needed it, so we have a spectrum of that. I think it's probably very, possible if they're dealing with the level of intelligence in our neighborhood, then they probably have a spectrum of personality types as well. But I forgot where I was going with that.
No, I think you're right, though. And that's why if you look at a lot of Bigfoot hunters out there, or investigators, researchers, whatever you want to call them, they don't usually allow their locations to be known. Mm-hmm. They're protective of it. And I don't think they are doing it out of spite, trying to be, screw the community, much like the paranormal world does, where, we were investigating at this unknown location, and in the meantime, it's Fred's Bar and Grill down the street. I mean, it's not like that. In the forest, Sasquatch investigators tend to really not talk about their areas, because they don't want that human contamination going in there. And the one thing that I've learned through this entire process that I've been learning over the last couple of years, you have to build trust with these creatures. Otherwise, they're not going to show you who you are. And it's not like, people that you see them on YouTube or whatever, where they're running through the forest with ghillie suits on, trying to hide themselves in their shape or trying to get rid of their smell. No, let the Bigfoot smell your odor. Let the Bigfoot smell your tobacco, or listen to you laugh or talk, or what you drive, the sound of your vehicle. Because once they get used to you, that's where the contact starts, and they will start giving you little hints that they are around. And I don't think a lot of people want to dig into that area. Like one of my areas, actually both of my areas are very well known in my community where I live. People have been down that road all the time. People have been to the crash site. They just don't know that it's there because they haven't looked for it or haven't seen it. And in the meantime, I'm just sitting there keeping my mouth shut saying, yeah, I have two areas, and that's where I go.
Yeah. To add on to what Brent was saying, what I fear also happening is the more people that go out there to try to find the Bigfoot and look for it. Look, kids, Bigfoot, whatever. You may get up on something that's younger or a protective mother, and someone may get really hurt. Or even killed, and then that changes the whole dynamic. Now they're bad and evil. It's the Frankenstein mentality, and the villagers come out and go try to get rid of them. I don't tell most people of my site, I will take you, and you're sworn to secrecy, and because I don't want people going out there. I don't need the Zach Baggins of Bigfoot hunting to go out there and challenge and cause problems. We've built a rapport, and they know you're coming, by the way. I think there's like this collective, like Q in Star Trek, where they all know what's going on. They can see past, present, and future. And I do believe that they can tell by looking at you and your energy. And that's your aura that goes around you, who you are as a person. And it's very interesting because I have a good relationship in the Northeast with a couple of these cryptids. Not like we're playing poker or anything, but they come close. They give a little skin reveal here and there. You see a little of the leg or an arm, and sometimes you get a peekaboo, which is out of this world amazing. And you're right, you're never going to catch that because they won't do it. They won't peekaboo, when you do it. But when I went down the eastern seaboard and I've had experiences, there's something internally that says they know who I am. And I don't think it's the same clan of Bigfoot. I think it's just there's a collective that they're aware of and they know who you are. And that's why you get those reports of hunters with, like, for example, the dogmen. They have the rifle that can put a nice hole in you, and they get the mental connection with the dogman. It's always with the dogman. Don't do it, and they warn you, don't do it, because I've always said it. If you have a dogman right in front of you, I will guarantee you have one either on your 6 or your 3 and 9. They do not hunt and they do not do anything on their own. That's a true pack mentality. So you're going to shoot them that, and they're going to rock your world. So it's crazy. I don't tell anybody. It's not worth it. Why would you lose that friendship and that connection you've built with something that you're trying to get that ultimate, like, he said his name's Peter, that moment where, like, whatever. I put too much time, energy, and effort and care and concern into it. And I'm not gonna, not to be selfish, but I'm worried about them having a problem, the Bigfoots, more so than me.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here, guys.
Sure.
Let's
Blue.
start off
I'm joking.
with Erica here, and she is asking, do you think Dogman just likes to anger bluff to leave them alone or leave the area?
Brent?
I think so. It seems like most, and it's all anecdotal, but most accounts that I've heard of they have no problem getting right up and personal and just scaring the hell out of people. They just seem to thrive on it, which was, I think Bryan mentioned earlier, but there's not a lot of, and maybe it's because if they do attack, the people don't get to talk about it, but there's not a lot of stories of them acting in a over the top, going to hurt you kind of manner. So it does seem to be posturing, but it's almost like they get a kick out of it is what it seems like. And Bryan was saying that earlier, and I agree. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm the alpha, and the dogman knows they're an alpha in that situation. So they'll let you know it.
Yeah. I think the same case in point with my two friends, if you have a Bigfoot, you're going to have dogmen in the area, and they were supposed to go to the right on the Y, but it was covered over with the brush. And they happened upon the dogman. I don't think this dogman was prepared, and I think it was a younger dogman or teenager. It was just as shocked to see them, and it did what it would do, and it showed its teeth. And just like any dog you come upon or a wild animal, they, for some reason, they're very brash. They go up to windows and they peek in. They're nuts. They're always looking. They played it with a woman's house up in upstate New York. She has a fishing store in the back of her house in the garage, and her house is there. 2 separate doorbell sounds, and at 3 a.m. it was ding, ding, and she's like, "What the hell is going on?" And then when she went outside, she got the dogman print. And what was really scary for her is there was an upside down print on her window of the patio door. And she slept on her covered patio. It was connected to the house. They expanded. Sleeps with a loaded shotgun by the way. This thing was on the roof of the house. So they like screwing around with people. I think they get off on the fear that, they feel like they're tough. Like, yeah, we scared them and whatever, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot will do certain things, like that rock throw is very important. If they keep throwing stuff at you, that's for you to go away. Get out. They're telling you need to leave.
It's also funny that starts out generally pretty small, like might be little dinky pine cones or pebbles at first, and it keeps growing in scale the longer you wait. So it's like, take the hint.
It does.
Bricks are coming soon. Yeah.
And they will get aggressive with that. Now, when I went to do this Bigfoot investigation in the Gulf Coast of Florida, soon as I got there, we had tree knocks. We had a big knock. I mean, like a mother of a knock. And my tent was set up, and they kept throwing stuff at my tent. Pine cones. but it wasn't. I knew it was like, we know who you are. That's what I felt. We know who you are. Oh, that's that big guy from up north. It's like, yeah, that's the difference. And some people should not be going out investigating these things. It's not just the Constitution; it's just the attitude. You're going to get yourself really hurt.
You can. All right, let's go to another question here. So we got 4 minutes to go here before the break. Let's go to Sweet Robbie G.
Sure.
Why do people feel safe around Bigfoot?
That's a good question. Could be the positive movies like Harry and the Hendersons, and that, like, oh, he's so cute, like Bubbles the chimp, and they don't realize how massive this thing is. Because most of the time, if you have a Bigfoot encounter lately, it's usually walking across the road, or it's not aggressive. Versus some of the other ones, like the Dogman is really more aggressive. They'll get down on all fours. Bigfoot does it too. That's why some people think, is that a bear? And then all of a sudden they stand up and they're like, that's not a bear. That's why I think they don't understand how big this is. Like, have you ever seen a lion at the zoo, the king of the jungle, like up close, really close? You don't know how big that thing is. It is, the paws are just, it's massive. But they think it's cute, right? Let's go get a lion cuddly stuffy thing. Nope.
If I can chime in on this a little bit too, I think that there's also a lot of both modern day accounts and historical accounts of them being friendly towards people. There's the histories of the First Nations there's some histories of them trading and having relationship in a very productive manner with these beings. And there's plenty of stories of I can't say plenty, but there's a few that I can think of where it's like, in one case, this kid was playing at a family campsite, or the campsite where the family was, and got out in the woods and was just huddled up crying. And then this big hairy person came and took his hand and brought him right up to the edge of the wood line, so that he could get back to the campsite. And then the kid went and looked back and the thing was gone. It's like, wow, that's very benevolent. That's very, that's very caring gesture. And so I think there's enough of that going around, and maybe also because people are projecting, so in some cases I want it to be a friendly, happy forest, elder. And so that's what I expect it will be. And again, I think that there are certainly examples of that, but I think you just don't know. So
you don't know. And I think all these cryptids are very aware of what will happen to them if they go on the offensive or the attack. It was about a year plus ago. They closed down a state or a forest, in Colorado, and they put a 15-mile radius around it with military coming in and out, black helicopters, and someone reported seeing them taking out, the normal stretcher. It was like two sizes of that. Something big was being airlifted out, and the military was sent in because there were people killed while camping and going to this national park or whatever it is there. And I know from getting a phone call from someone that does it, couldn't tell you their name. That's their job. They go out, they protect, and they'll take care of business.
Bryan B., we're going to have more audience questions coming up here on Spaced Out Radios. We're through the first half of the show. Second half coming up next on the Mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Peter Birdsall, how you doing? Welcome back.
I still love the beef thing. Sorry, friend.
Well, his heart's in the right place.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm called so many different names by so many different people. There was a crazy guy in my building, like, "Hey, what's going on, Roy?" And my brother looks at me like, "Roy?" And I'm like, "Trust me, go with it." Play with a guy, golf from Canada, really great guy. I must have said my name, Bryan, 3 times. He goes, "Steve, it was a pleasure playing golf with you." I'm like, "No problem. Take it easy, Fred." And I'll just answer to anything. So could be worse.
Could be worse. I've been called much worse than B. Arthur.
Yeah, so have I.
And it's kind of a badge of honor now, that's Mr.
Yeah,
David.
well, it's like 15,000 podcasts.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, he's a machine.
It's kind of like crypto mining, That's what it's like.
It's all AI. It's all AI.
It's all AI. I hire little forest people to go help me out.
Oh, God bless you. They need the work.
But yeah, it's top of the morning to them, so to get to work done.
Gets them out of that cookie factory.
Yeah, Rob had another question about the interdimensional killing, but I don't know if you saved that question, so I'll just
I've got all the questions up here, buddy.
Sure.
B. Arthur's a great nickname, Fast Hemi says.
The old B. Just wait till your audience starts calling you B. Arthur, man. That's the goal.
I already dealt with that with Tex. He called my show the Porthole forever. And so
The porthole.
I always knew when people were coming from Texas audience to come watch my show. Hey, it's great to be on the Paranormal Porthole. So
I get Third Eye Blind.
oh yeah, well that's a band, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bad band, but yeah, Third Eye Blind. Better than
Brian,
Nickelback.
have you ever
No, I'm
had
joking.
anybody done any interviews where somebody says, "Why do you have so many podcasts?"
Yeah, actually, someone said that. I hear you have a lot of podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, Dave.
You're like, Dave, what have you done?
It's
Juliana,
fine.
how are you?
I laugh right at this point. At one point I was doing like 3 of them.
See, look, Benno says, what's B. Arthur's site? They don't even know who I am now.
ParanormalPortalPodcast.com.
Yes. Or his OnlyFans page. B. Arthur.
ParanormalPortal.net actually is my site.
Oh, .net. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I tried to get com, but that was already taken, I guess. Or somebody's camped on it trying to sell it for lots of money. And I was like, no, I'll just do .net.
Actually, let me see if I have it. And if I do own it, I'll give it to you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
So we had this conversation. Like at one point I was looking at names for
That's right.
a radio show.
Yeah.
And at a UK network that sucks. And I will talk about the mother and brother or sister team that runs it. But that may have been one of them.
Okay.
At once. So if I may have ordered it and I'll give it to you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, brother. That's very nice.
Yeah, and that's not a problem. You have a great show and people should sign up. So
They should. I like what you think. I like how you think.
Oh, yes, Rob G does have a lot of them. How many? You're catching up to me, Rob. And Filthy's coming up too. Right?
Where's Filthy going?
Well, he has his show on Saturdays, right? And then he comes in and he does work. So it's 2 shows.
Yeah, Filthy's a legend. He's a complete legend.
It was so much fun having him on. He was like, I am so, thanks for asking. I'm like, dude, I definitely want to have you on. If we were like in the same room or zip code, we would be hanging out a lot. Probably getting a shit.
Dude is funny in person, man.
Yeah. Oh, I know
he's
that.
Great in person.
So I get it. And his book is awesome. So go out and buy it. Make him, buy it from him. Yeah.
Right there on full advertisement.
It's great. I mean, I love the cartoons.
It's fun to watch him do it. When having that happen on the show, I've watched it many times. Like, I'm listening to the conversation, but I'm also watching what he's doing. I'm like, wow, what is that?
Believe how many people have over the years have said, get that cartoon guy off your channel. He's just creating too much distraction.
They're so
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to hate my background. So,
right.
And Brett, you're up there too.
I'm going.
Hold on, guys. We're going to come back here momentarily. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Mel WD40 with a pair of lube chats, Ozzy Ange, Jeff, Steve Garvey, and Kitty for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. And here we go. Coming up with the next half hour, we're got about 7 seconds. And that's just enough time to say hi to B. Arthur in the chat room, everybody. Here we go, everyone. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in. And we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. There's Bryan Bowden. There is Brent Thomas, a.k.a. B. Arthur from the Paranormal Portal podcast. Hanging on out. We're taking audience questions tonight, and we're having a lot of fun. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. What a great show tonight.
It's my pleasure, man. Thanks for letting me out.
It's fun.
All right, let's get to Matthew here. When you were talking about the territories earlier, Bryan, Matthew asks, is that why Ohio is split in two? North are the Dogmen, south are Bigfoot?
Not really. What they usually do is put some kind of landmark between them, and it's done purposely. Like, you stay on your side of the fence, we'll stay on our side of the fence. So the greater the expanse, the less of a conflict. And Dogmen and Bigfoot have fought numerous times. And a lot of people are like, well, I think the dog, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, well, who would win that? Majority of it is won by Bigfoot, because there are Bigfoot that are immense size, like King Kong size, and have left prints. Ron Moorhead was, in his book Quantum Bigfoot, talk about it, like a 25-footer in the forest. And people like, there's no way. I mean, there is a way. I think Brent and I had this conversation. You can drive down the road, like even in PA or in Ohio, and the forest comes right up to the road, and there could be 7 of them standing there. You would never see them. That's how dense it is. So, yeah, that it's not necessarily, because of that. It just makes life easier. You stay on your side, we'll stay on our side, and don't start anything.
That's incredible. Just incredible. Let's go to another question here, gents. Let's go to Rob. If Sasquatch is interdimensional, can we even unalive them to begin with?
Brent?
I have no idea. It would be wildly speculative for me to say that A, it is interdimensional, or B, if it is, could we kill it? I don't know. I don't really understand the nature of it, other than I think if something is truly moving between dimensions, then it has to be some adjustment of frequency so that it's not here. And if frequency is the issue, then I guess if whatever we would use to try to kill it would be at a different frequency anyway. So if it was interdimensionally moved away from us, we wouldn't be able to target it. Does that make sense? Because if something is in our realm or a realm of existence, it has to be at least partially working in our frequency range. So maybe you can injure anything that would appear within our sphere, but once it goes out of our frequency, then no, you can't. That would be my take on it. But again, wild speculation.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've changed from flesh and blood into, it can do things from flesh and blood to interdimensional and other type of different changes. And once you're flesh and blood, I believe it can be killed. But the question is, can it be killed in the interdimensional area? Then again, we haven't traveled that I'm aware of into an interdimensional space or whatever zone it is. So there probably is something that could, get rid of whatever the entities are there, maybe disrupting its energy field or causing some kind of like almost like a virus on a computer in the change in the interdimensional sphere. But flesh and blood, 100% you can take its life. And there's a lot of reports about people that have, taken shots at them.
All right, let's move on to another question. Sweet Robbie G just loading it up tonight. He goes, when everyone keeps things to themselves, we miss out on moving Bigfoot research forward, in my opinion. Pretty stagnant right now. That was when we were talking about not letting people know of your locations.
Yeah. There's a lot more sightings than it's just not reported as much. If you, I don't want to quote the movie, but if you really want to find Bigfoot sightings and the people that write about them, you got to go to the schlocky news, like Weekly World News or even Star Magazine will always have like, Bat Boy or whatever. Someone will get that report and like, here, Johnson, go out and write this story. And he's like, oh gosh. So they write up a story, whatever, and they publish in these other type of news filings. Maybe once in a while you hear something on the news, like hopefully to bring in tourism, like the Florida skunk ape was seen on Route 70 or 74 or whatever it is, and it is seen there often, but it doesn't mean that we're not moving the research forward. It's kind of hard to do research when you can't capture it, and there's a lot of people that are making assumptions when they find hairs that the DNA doesn't match or the medulla isn't in there, or you have a candidate, but you can't say this is what Bigfoot hair is. It's just what it is, And if you, think about it this way, and I've had this discussion, if you had a Bigfoot and then you took some hairs out and you got a blood sample, somehow it was knocked out, you came upon it. The second you brought that into get tested and it gets into the DNA section of it, it's going to hit an alarm with whoever's in charge, government-wise, and all that stuff is going to go bye-bye. That's why you don't have research moving forward. They will do everything in their power to take it away from you, especially in the U.S., just like all the UFOs with the U.S., right? They've gone into almost every country, even China and Russia, to recover craft.
All right, let's move to another question here. Let's go to, here's one that we kind of talked about earlier, and I'm going to put it up here.
Sure.
Silver Sacks. So I have an obvious question. How do people have detailed interactions but still no pictures? Do cameras not work in that scenario? Brian?
So like I said before, these creatures, I believe, have an innate ability to change its molecular structure, and we're electricity. We're made from electricity. We have our own signals, and they can convert that into different forms of energy in order to go into an interdimensional state. They draw energy out of the universe. It's there. It's wireless. It's the same thing as wireless charging. And when they camouflage themselves, they need more energy, so they'll draw it from the camera body. You would actually have to have a camera that has no electronics in it whatsoever in order to take a picture. But I think the interaction is so prolific with someone, they don't need the camera. They're not looking for the camera. They want more of this interaction. Tell me more. Tell me more about your species. Tell me more where you came from. So, I've had really great UFO sightings, and I had cameras on me, and I wasn't even thinking about grabbing the camera. I don't want to lose one moment of it. That's just my take.
Brent, how about you?
Well, I think that, you also have to consider that maybe not everybody's telling the truth. And some people may just be very protective, but there's a lot of people that are peddling a lot of ideas recklessly and making reckless claims about things that they absolutely know to be true, that are largely impossible to substantiate even for themselves. But they're gonna tell you all day long that they're the ones you should be listening to. There's a lot of ego involved in all of this, and that's the sad part. That there's a lot of people trying to stay in the spotlight. Like, I'm the one that's relevant here. Don't listen to all them. They don't know anything. I'm the one that knows. And and then you get blob squatches and pareidolia pictures and red circles all over the place. And I'm not really trying to bash anybody. I think anybody that's interested in it is welcome to, come to their own conclusions. But I don't know. I'm not sure I believe everybody that says they have these robust, interactions and communications. And it could be protective, or it could be they're just full of it. I don't know. That's
I'm gonna add a caveat to this question.
Sure.
Usually the sightings are so fleeting and you're so astonished by it happening, the last thing that you even think about is saying, I need to take a picture. By the time you realize that you should have taken a picture is about 3 to 5 minutes after the incident has occurred, and you're replaying it in your head. I'll give you an example with Tim, our UFO guy, when him and I were out at Flight 21 just a couple weeks ago. He literally watched what looked to be an alien walking through the trees. He said it was about 5 feet tall, very slender, with an oval-shaped head. And it was a little bit blurry. By the time he would have got his camera up, it was gone. It was only about a 2 or 3 second sighting, if that. And that's what happens is these sightings are so quick and fleeting that you don't even think about it. You just want to take it all in and just allow it to happen. It's not that easy to capture one of these things. And sure, people could say, well, put a trail cam up. Trail cams rarely work. Rarely.
So, the UV light factor on a trail cam, which is out there, it blinks. They can see it. They have a double lid. Most Bigfoots have a double lid. That's why they see great at night. And it's like a dog. Or if you have a camera that has no flash on it or no control over, how to open up the lens to grab more light, and you bring it into a room that is a baby monitor, you're going to take a perfect picture because it captures that light. You'll see everything on it. Bigfoot can see it. And when they see it, they know what it is and they skirt around it. Okay. Here's something that's very interesting. I used to do a live meetup in Yonkers, New York, and then upstate New York in Red Hook. And we would discuss UFOs and cryptids and all this stuff and give you a safe format to be in. No one was picking on anybody. We had this one guy that would come all the time, really nice guy, tall, Nordic looking, a little bit heavy set. And one night where I'm presenting and I see him out of the corner, we had also undercover agents that would come. You can tell them a mile away. They want to know what's going on and they're keeping tabs on it. But this one guy was sitting there, and as I'm talking, this is the strange thing, the man's vibrating. Like he's fuzzy and he's moving. He's like as if I'm looking at a picture through like a water that's being hit with like a speaker, and you're getting the ripples. I mean, and I stopped and I looked, and when I looked and focused, he stopped doing it. So it was my partner that I was up there with. I'm like, pay attention to, I forgot his name, but over there, it's like, what? I'm like, dude, the guy's vibrating. And he even saw him. So if I would have taken out a camera, he would have noticed it, and then it would have been gone. You're not going to get it. It's a freak of nature. It's like finding a winning lottery ticket. That's what it is. So no one's going to.
Bryan, your thoughts? I mean,
On
sorry, B, your thoughts.
B.
I almost didn't know how to respond there, Dave.
I think
I think there's always there is plenty of claims of the electromagnetic interference and that's kind of the rollover. I've always thought that there's a peculiar overlap between these disparate phenomena like ghosts and aliens and cryptozoological studies. And it's surprising the amount of people that have reported almost like haunting, like deep ghost activity kind of behavior with the equipment, things malfunctioning, things that should work suddenly don't, batteries are drained, as I know you guys mentioned earlier as well. And so it does seem to suggest that there's an electromagnetic component to this, or at least some field that interferes with electromagnetics, because even with battery drain, sometimes that's pretty peculiar. Sorry, my eyes are bothering me. But there's times when your batteries will go dead, just flatline. But then when you leave a specific location, you look down and boom, they're back to full charge. So there was something going on in there where it wasn't like the energy was being pulled as much as disrupted. And so I think that's kind of a smoking gun as well. But other than that, I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here, guys. Let's go to our next question. So we've got about 8 minutes. Let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to Seymour. Bryan claimed early in the broadcast he saw an ape or a humanoid with a 3-foot wide face, 1.617 head to body ratio, would be about 24 to 30 feet tall. These exist?
No, this thing was, it was about its whole head filled the window, and the window was 3 feet by 3 feet. It was massive. When you got to understand something, just because you can't use the normal ratios you would use for humans based on some of these cryptids, because it doesn't work that way. But if you hear about Bigfoot being the sightings, Bigfoot's arms are a lot longer than ours. They go down further. So the ratios don't work, but I know how high that window is. If you step outside of the bunk I was in, you would have to get to the bottom of the window, you have to be about 7 to 8 feet tall. So this thing was kind of like leaning in, and maybe I was seeing its shoulders, but it was massive. It was about this big. And I'm not exaggerating the whole thing. And when I saw it at one point, again, I wasn't thinking Bigfoot. I thought someone was wearing a mask or something else was going on there. But there was the brow that was thick. It was dark, black eyes, and then a big wide nose, and you can see the mouth and hair. And I just went, I'm going to sit in my bed for a little bit and not move. So, but I would guesstimate that Bigfoot is probably close to 9 to 10 feet tall. And in that area, I know there are Bigfoot, and they're about that range. So it's probably an adult. Because it's curious. It was checking where there's a bunch of kids, that are sleeping in this camp, and it has free reign at night.
All right. B, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't hear Bryan talk about that. That might have been before.
It's literally about the size of B. Arthur's hair. You know what I'm saying?
That's what the hat's for. That's what the hat's for, Dave.
Keeps it underneath there.
Tessercat is asking, how long does it take to build trust? I think I'm going to answer this one first because I'm kind of the one who brought it up. I think it can take weeks, sometimes years. It really can. It all depends on the clans you have encounters with. Okay, and some of these clans, they may show that there is some sort of communication, but doesn't mean that they trust you.
Right.
They'll trust you on their time, more like they will allow you into their space for a period of time, but doesn't mean that they trust you. My other clan that I go to, my other spot, well, we're still working on that. We're 2 years in.
They may be younger too. It may be a different, like, I've heard numerous stories where Bigfoots will mate, they'll have children, and then when it's time, the children get to stay there and they'll move to a different area. So the children have to figure it out. They're taught by their parents how to track, hunt, and then they have to be there to, acquire a mate. And I think this is the protocol of it. But as far as trust is concerned with Bigfoot, you're right. It could be, it depends on, what you're dealing with. If it's trust with women, it's probably about 2 to 3 drinks. But other than that, that's how I would do it. I mean, we've been going to the same spot for a long, long time, and they still, they get closer, but they're still hesitant because there is what's interesting is they're near the property. You can hear them is a gun range. So they know, like, do they have guns? Do they not have guns? When we go in, I can't carry a gun in the state of New York, but I do carry a machete because we have bear, we have cat. There's other things you have to worry about. And on the Appalachian Trail, look at how many people have gotten unalived on that or robbed through robbery. So you got to be protective. So they're still a little bit cautious.
B, what's your thoughts? Building trust.
I think it's probably very well. I mean, there's plenty of factors that are involved for any kind of trust building. I mean, this first and foremost, I think any level of trust that you develop with these things is profound because, again, I know that they very consciously chosen us to not be a part of their existence or actively involved with them, and so if you can get to a point where, like, you set out toys or beads or things, and you get an interaction on that level, that's huge. I mean, they're never going to come over and do s'mores with you or something. I mean, that's just not part of part of what you can expect. But they if you can establish any level of trust, I think that is gargantuan. That's a Herculean task. But it goes back also, I think, to the behavioral spectrum that they probably have, and it would depend on, as you mentioned, Dave. There's 2 very different experiences with that in two different areas, and it's because you're dealing with different individuals. And I think that it also may also depend on the person. Like, I think animals in general, and I'm not equating these things with animals necessarily. I think they're something much more than that, and that's not meant to be degrading either, but I think they probably have a pretty profound degree of empathy, and they know that whether or not someone is trustworthy, like, even dogs can tell, like, if somebody's a decent person or not, or cats or anything. I mean, they know, and it may be as simple as a smell, or there might be something more profound going on energetically where they're like, oh yeah, I see that aura, screw that dude. And so I think that is probably true for these things. They're probably very in tune with those much more subtle energies that people project, and they read it. If not being actually telepathic, which is always a possibility with the mind speak and stuff, maybe they can hear our thoughts. We have this idea that our thoughts exist with only the framework of our physical body. They're happening here, but they're energetic. So they do project out of us, and they do affect the world around us. And maybe these things are very tuned into all of that. So
yeah, there's a study going on. It's been going for a while. It's called quantum tunneling, and METI, mental extraterrestrial intelligent encounters, where you use your consciousness to send it out there. You're not even opening your mouth. This has been proven to be fact. I mean, you can use it, and I know people that have conversations. My friend had a conversation with his mother. Her back was to us, and he's like, yeah, I know. I'll be back when I told you. And like I'm like, when we went outside, I'm like, I don't know, but your mom didn't move her mouth. So, yeah.
Weird. Bryan Bowden, B. Arthur from the Paranormal Portal podcast. Good to have you both here. Got to say goodnight to you. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller, Little Timmy James, and the Dave 101. A busy hour next on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, B.
Thanks for hopping on in.
That was fun, guys. Thanks for letting me join. That was a good time. I really had a good time.
Glad you hopped in, buddy. I know it was
Yeah,
impromptu and everything, but
let me know. You ever need me, man, just give me a holler. Bryan and I are very much alike that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be here.
And I better see you a new line of shirts on the portal that say "I'm with B. Arthur."
I gotta look at the time. I gotta go. See you guys. Good night, everybody.
Later, guys.
Good
night.
Bye.
All right, I'll be right back, everybody. right, I'm back. Oh, look, it's little Timmy James.
What is shaking?
What are you doing?
I'm doing good. You?
I said, what are you doing?
Sitting here looking in the camera.
Oh, me too.
Weird.
Weird. Totally weird. I remembered what today was. Thursday.
Today is what? Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Mel WD 40 ×2, Jeff Steve Garvey, Ozzy Ange, and Kitty Caddywhack for the great super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. Undead Jed, how you doing? Skip to my Lou, good morning to you. J Truth Seeker, nice to have you here. And here we go. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Here we go. My name is Dave Scott. Greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are in this beautiful place we call Earth. Tim James of the UFO Report coming up momentarily right after Swamp Dweller. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? It is Lubricious. Lubricious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I had a nearly identical story happen to one that I heard on your channel, and felt it was important to relay my experience as well. There were many times in my life where I was staying in very unusual and creative places. From about the age of 22 to 24, I was living in a few different tents I had set up in the South Hills of San Jose, California. I stayed there for months at a time by myself, because I enjoyed the freedom to do what I want and stay where I wanted. Within the amount of time, I had countless experiences with wildlife. I was camped too close to a water source. I basically set up camp right in the middle of Mother Nature's freeway. Almost every night, around midnight, a group of wild pigs would run down the hill. Some of them were enormous, and sometimes they would squeal and scream. When you were out there, and they were sniffing around the paper-thin tent, it was something terrifying. I also would hear deer, a coyote, and have been stalked by a mountain lion at least 3 times. You will learn the natural sounds at night surprisingly fast, especially if you are in the same area for a long time. There was one night when I was sleeping, and was awoken by the sound of pigs coming down the hill. But this time something was different. I'm a very light sleeper, and even though I was somewhat used to them, they would scare me when they got within 15 feet from my tent. But this time, I remember feeling relaxed. It was an unusual relaxed, though, because these things were closer than I was normally comfortable with them being. And surprisingly, the more relaxed I was feeling, the more tired I got. It almost felt like I was being put under before surgery, except I was still aware and had my senses. I heard what sounded like a pig sniffing, and felt one of them brush up against the tent, and then they seemed to leave. All except for one, that is. I couldn't tell if this one was in the back of the group or separate and following not far behind the rest. In my sedated state, I was not concerned the way I normally would be. Then, the pig, or whatever it was, did something bizarre. It laid on me. I could feel its body heat and feel its breathing, but I dare not move. Or perhaps I couldn't move from the fear. This creature laid on my chest for what felt like multiple hours, but probably was not much more than just a few minutes. I felt to get off my chest at some point in time, and shortly after that the sedation wore off and I woke up. I don't know what to make of it, but someone out there in a past episode shared a similar experience on your channel, and perhaps others have too. If anyone knows what this may have been, please enlighten me in the comments down below.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, ring that bell, hit subscribe, and you can listen to thousands of stories for free, just like that. Time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Little Timmy James is back for the UFO report. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Not a problem, not a problem. It's always good to have you here. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, let's start off with the UK. So in a significant forward step, the United Kingdom is preparing to hold public hearings where military personnel can disclose their encounters with UFOs. With UFOs. This initiative, modeled after similar proceedings in the United States, aims to provide a platform for Royal Air Force, Army, and Navy whistleblowers to share experiences previously silenced by military non-disclosure agreements and fear of professional repercussions. The move marks a pivotal moment in the UK's approach to UFOs, prioritizing open dialogue over secrecy. The hearings stem from efforts led by a documentary filmmaker, Mark Christopher Lee, who has advocated for protections for military personnel wishing to speak about UFO encounters. Lee, whose work includes the documentary The King of UFOs, exploring royal interest in the phenomenon, has collaborated with the House of Lords minister to establish a select committee. This committee will facilitate evidence collection from service members, ensuring their accounts are heard without fear of ridicule or career damage. The initiative responds to growing calls for the UK to align with the US, where whistleblower protections have enabled military personnel to testify about UFO sightings under oath. Sources indicate that the Royal Air Force pilots, among others, have reported close encounters with objects displaying capabilities beyond known human tech. These accounts, often suppressed due to lack of legal safeguards, include sightings of craft exhibiting extraordinary speed and maneuverability. Unlike the U.S., where the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act grants exemptions from non-disclosure agreements for UFO-related disclosures, UK military personnel currently face significant barriers to speaking out. Lee's campaign, including a direct appeal to the British Prime Minister, seeks to introduce similar protections to encourage transparency. The hearings are expected to mirror the U.S. model, where congressional sessions have led to the declassification of documents detailing military encounters with UFOs. In the UK, the goal is to create a safe environment for service members to present testimony, potentially unlocking classified records and fostering public discussion. The initiative has garnered attention from those who argue that such disclosures are critical for understanding potential aerial threats, though no official government stance has confirmed extraterrestrial origins. Skeptics point to the historical precedents, suggesting some UFO sightings may be linked to advanced military tech. A 2024 Pentagon report revealed that U.S. military spread disinformation about UFOs during the Cold War to conceal weapons programs, such as stealth aircraft testing at Area 51. Similar concerns exist in the UK, where sightings like the 1980 Rendlesham Forest incident, often attributed to secret military projects or misidentified lights, highlight the challenge of distinguishing between classified tech and unexplained phenomenon. The upcoming hearings aim to address these ambiguities by prioritizing firsthand accounts over speculation. This development follows decades of anecdotal reports from UK military personnel, including a Metropolitan Police officer who recently described a UFO sighting but declined to go on record due to fear of ridicule. By creating a structured platform for these testimonies, the hearings could challenge long-standing stigmas and encourage a more open examination of UFOs. Whether these accounts will point to advanced tech, natural phenomenon, or something else entirely remains to be seen. But the UK's commitment to public hearings signals a bold step towards addressing one of the modern era's most enduring mysteries. So, I've also to add to that, King Charles, I almost called him Prince Charles. King Charles is all for this. He's been quoted as, let's get it done, let's move forward, open the books. Yeah, he's number one cheerleader for all of this right now.
The royal family has always been very steadfast in their love of this subject of UFOs. Even the late Prince Philip, King Charles' dad, had a library of UFO books from throughout the decades of his life. And, apparently, I think it was Prince Philip's, one of his either family members or workmates on his farm actually had an encounter with a landing.
Mm-hmm.
A UFO landing and a being coming out.
That's right. I heard a little bit about that. And then I think that the Queen was basically the gatekeeper of that library at the Buckingham Palace or wherever they kept it. But ever since she was a young girl, apparently she had experienced quite a few things and stuff. So it runs in the blood, I guess. And even King Charles was over here in the 70s and had allegedly flown a UFO or created UFO by us here in Canada. So yeah, these guys are all for it, and that's good. I think that this is the alignment, or this is the motivation or the ball rolling that hopefully that I think we wanted to see. I mean, I've said it before. France is all over this stuff. They document it like it's national. I don't even know. It just they document it to a infinite T. So seeing the UK get on board and on board and following a US lead or whatever it may be, the ball is starting to roll. Maybe other countries after this will also do the same thing. But I think it's a good move.
Well, the other thing too is, have they learned anything from the United States where, talking about transparency and not bringing it to the table?
Mm-hmm.
How much is their own, lack of a better term, whistleblower protection going to work?
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of questions going out to this, because I think if you're using the United States as the rule of thumb and the way they've handled this situation, you're going to fail.
Yes.
Agreed. You're going to fail miserably. However, if you provide areas where these people can come out publicly without getting scorned or disciplined or losing pensions or whatever it may be, then that's something to look about.
Yeah.
The United Kingdom doesn't have a Black Ops project when it comes to aircraft, as far as we know.
Right.
They rely heavily on the United States, much like most of the Western world does.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will they open up? Now, history shows that the Brits and the Commonwealth have really perfected, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see that being a Commonwealth country here in Canada.
Absolutely.
So the question is, will that carry over for the next one?
Yeah, good question. Hard to say, but I would hope that, maybe I'm hoping that it will move forward, and I'm hoping that they will open up and be a little more investigative about it, and maybe might rub on us
Right.
over here across the pond.
On a positive note, this is a big step forward, where just a couple years ago in their parliament, the government basically said that UFO hearings were a waste of time. We were not going down that road and wasting taxpayers' time and money on a story that doesn't exist. And now here we are with getting this. So that is a big step forward, and congratulations to those who kept pushing for it in the UK.
Absolutely. For sure. So Did you know this? Okay, so this is a story. This is a report from Dave and Mai's area. Did you hear about the stuff that happened last week in the Triangle, Dave?
No.
Yeah.
Fill me in.
So residents of British Columbia's rugged Caribou region, often called the Caribou Triangle, for its history of strange aerial phenomenon, are abuzz with speculation following recent UFO sightings. The area roughly encompassing Williams Lake, Quesnel, and Prince George has long been a hotspot for unexplained lights and objects in the sky. And the latest reports have reignited local discussion about extraterrestrial activity. So on the evening of June 18th of this year, multiple witnesses near Horsefly Lake reported seeing two bright pulsating objects hovering slightly above the forested hills. Sarah Thompson, a school teacher from Williams Lake, described the object as glowing orbs shifting color from white to red and moving in ways that defy conventional aircraft behavior. They weren't planes or drones, Thomas said. They moved too fast, then stopped dead still, like they were watching us. It was very eerie. 2 nights later, on June 20th, near Quesnel, truck driver Mike Larson captured shaky cell phone footage of what he described as two glowing discs darting across the sky before vanishing behind the ridge. The video, widely circulated among locals, shows indistinct lights maneuvering erratically. Some dismiss the footage as possible drones or atmospheric anomalies, while others speculate about extraterrestrial origins, pointing to the Caribou Triangle's reputation for unexplained phenomena. The term Caribou Triangle emerged in UFO enthusiast circles due to the region's decades-long history of sightings, with some comparing it to Area 51 or the Bermuda Triangle. Local lore attributes the area's activity to its remote, sparsely populated terrain, clean skies, and proximity to military flight paths, allegedly, which some believe could mask experimental aircraft testing, allegedly. Skeptics argue that the sightings are likely misidentified natural phenomenon, such as ball lightning or reflections of distant lights. Dr. Emily Chen, an astrophysicist at the University of British Columbia, offered a cautious perspective. Many UFO sightings can be explained by atmospheric conditions, satellites, or human-made objects, she said. But the consistency of reports in the Caribou region is intriguing and warrants further study. Chen noted the lack of high-quality evidence, like clear photographs or radar data, makes definitive conclusions difficult. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, in Williams Lake confirmed they received no official reports of the June sightings, but local authorities are familiar with such claims. In 2001, a wave of UFO reports near 100 Mile House sparked brief media attention, though no conclusive evidence emerged. The Caribou Regional District has since embraced its quirky reputation, with some businesses selling Caribou Triangle merchandise to attract curious tourists. I have not seen that.
That's BS. There is not.
I know, right? That's So the British Columbia UFO Network plans to investigate the sightings and interview witnesses as the Caribou Triangle continues to captivate imaginations. For now...
Hold on. Let me just call time out on this.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Just pissed me off.
I know, right?
Who's doing this story?
That came out of Williams Lake.
Out of the newspaper?
Yep. So I don't know where they're selling them. Because
There's
if they were...
nobody selling them in this area.
I know, because if they did, I'd have one.
You would have one. I would have one.
We'd have lots. So, yeah, as soon as I had to keep it in, I wasn't going to edit it. But I was like,
oh, my gosh.
I've never seen one. So, carrying on, the British Columbia UFO Network plans to investigate the sightings and interview witnesses as the Caribou Triangle continues to captivate imaginations. For now, the region remains a place of mystery where clear answers are as elusive as the lights in its skies. As Thompson put it, whether it's aliens or something else, it makes you wonder what's really out there. So, note, there are no official confirmation of extraterrestrial activity has been provided by authorities, and investigations into the sightings are ongoing. So
I'm going to tell you right now, this writer who wrote this, there is no such thing. I just Googled it. There's no such thing as the British Columbia UFO Network.
What? What?
The British. This is what Google says.
Yep.
The British Columbia UFO network likely refers to public interest in reporting of unidentified flying objects in British Columbia. While there isn't a specific organization officially named the British Columbia UFO network, there is a history of UFO sightings and investigations in the province.
So a little embellishment.
Yeah. Was that in the Williams Lake newspaper?
Yeah, it was. Actually, was it today? I'm looking for.
I'm going to look this up because I'm going to find this writer.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So it was called "Mysteries in the Sky: Unexplained Sightings in British Columbia's Caribou Triangle." Anyway, yeah.
Time to take this person to school a little bit.
Well, no doubt. No doubt. If you can't find it, I'll dig it up because I've kept notes. So, but it's in my other book. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the T-shirt part, I was like, I've never seen anybody in town wear one of those.
Nope. I would agree. There's shenanigans going on in our field, man.
There's jiggery pokery. It's just stupid. But anyway, interesting.
Indeed.
Right? No.
Indeed. We got 3 minutes. What? Do you got anything more for us?
Sure. On a warm summer night, a group of 5 friends, 2 couples and a single guy named Tom, all in their 30s, were camping in Ellison Provincial Park, a scenic spot on Okanagan Lake known for its quiet beaches and stargazing. After a day of swimming and barbecuing, they were sitting around a campfire sharing stories and sipping local wine. Around 11 p.m., Tom, an accountant with a reputation for being the group's skeptic, pointed out bright light moving slowly across the sky. At first, they assumed it was a plane or a satellite, common sightings in clear Okanagan skies, but the light, described as a steady pale orange glow and the size of a dime held at arm's length, started behaving oddly. One of the women, Sarah, a school teacher, insisted it was a UFO and started waving her flashlight at it, half joking that she wanted to say hi to E.T. Her husband, Mike, a mechanic, laughed and teased her, saying it was probably just a really lost goose with a headlamp. Meanwhile, Tom the skeptic got flustered, pulling out his binoculars and muttered profanity under his breath. The light, however, didn't care for their debate. It began zigzagging gently, pausing for a moment, then splitting into 2 smaller lights before merging back into one and drifting out of sight over the Monashee Mountains. The whole sighting lasted about 5 minutes, leaving the group stunned but giggling at their own reactions. The next morning, still buzzing with excitement, they reported the sighting to the park ranger, who listened politely but suggested it might have been military flare from a nearby training area or a meteor. So what makes this story charming is the group's dynamic. Sarah's enthusiastic flashlight waving, Mike's goofy goose theory, and Tom's stubborn refusal to entertain the idea of aliens, all set against the backdrop of a cozy campfire. The Vernon Morning Star ran a tongue-in-cheek headline, Okanagan Skies or Okanagan Wines, which only fueled local chatter. No definitive explanation was ever confirmed, through some speculated it could have been atmospheric phenomenon. The tale remains fondly remembered, anecdote in Vernon, often brought up at Ellison Park campfires, where locals jokingly warn new campers to watch out for UFO happy hour. Unlike the outlandish stories, this one's grounded in relatable human reactions, making a true, amusing slice of BC's UFO history.
Yes, the Okanagan of British Columbia, not only famous for Ogopogo, but they have a high concentration of UFO sightings and reports, especially in the southern area between Penticton and Osoyoos. There's a large contingent of UFO sightings there. All right, little Timmy James, thank you for your great report, and we will talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
All right, and coming up next, it's the Dave 101 and the weird news of the week.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy, we're clear.
Excellent. I'll get the name of that reporter. I want to see where he found
when did that
feature.
story come out?
I think it was today or yesterday. I've got it, like I say, I've got the notes and stuff written down. I just got to go dig them up there upstairs.
Yeah, there was zero research done in that, man.
No doubt, right? I know. Now I know, but I mean, yeah, I thought, oh, okay, there's some stuff going on. And then as soon as I hit
I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be rude.
No.
But I mean, I've never, I know that there is a Caribou Triangle.
Of course there is.
And that starts down in, what's that reservation down on the way to Kamloops?
Oh,
where the gas station is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it starts around there and makes its way up to Prince George, then over to the Fraser River.
Yeah, up along the plateau.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'll get it. I'll find who it was, and then, yeah, we can, well, whatever. We can address it.
For sure.
Cool.
For sure. All Day Supremo, how you doing? Welcome to the channel.
Excellent. All right, guys.
I'll see you on, I'll give you a call on Saturday.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. And, yeah, if I don't have that video to you tonight, it'll be in the morning.
We'll release it on, try and release it early Sunday. I'll do a premiere for it, so it's before Rob's show.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. All right, everybody, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
I sent you a DM on Facebook.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy.
All right, talk to you later.
Later. Rob, I think I know where our area. There was a couple. Jason Gilmet from UAP Studies podcast. He was part of MUFON Canada. I think there's only one, maybe two investigators in BC, but there is no BC UFO network. There was UFO BC, but they seem to have gone silent. So there really isn't a reporting center here in BC. But our area does have, between here and Prince George, which is about a 3.5 hour drive, there are a ton of UFO sightings. A ton of them. Yeah, UFO BCJ Truth Seeker seems to have just fallen off the map. You watching the draft tomorrow night, Rob? That's where the real draft happens. Not guys whining about going to Utah or Toronto. Big thank you to T-Bone Times 2, Mel WD40 with 2 lube chats, Kitty Cattywack, Jeff Steve Garvey, and Ozzy Ange. Thank you for the love tonight. Very much appreciate it. Here we go. Here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Great to have you with us as we prepare for the Dave 101 and the weird news of the week. Hey, we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night, that time of the week, where I yell at all you negative Nellies to get off my lawn. It's the Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Who? Dave, D-A-V-E! What is this?
Dave's not here!
It's the Dave 101.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
Leave the killer out! Yeah! Leave the killer!
Dave's a mess.
You know, I fell into the pit that I tried to stay out of. And I learned this about a week and a half ago. And I tell you, I don't like it. Don't like it a bit. You see, I'm usually a pretty positive guy. I'm usually somebody who is always looking for the betterment. I can't stand confrontation. Did enough of that in my younger years, where now that I'm in my 50s, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't have time for that garbage anymore. But I fell into the pit of UFO negativity, looking at everything with a bleak picture. And a lot of it came from listening to our guests. A lot of it came from talking to sources. And a lot of it came from just putting two and two together and adding it up to 4. Now, what did I find negative? Well, I still find the UFO narrative very negative. I don't like what that's done to a lot of people in ufology. It's made a lot of attitudes. It's made a lot of questions. And it's really, in my opinion, directed the story to a lone sole focus of a threat narrative. I don't like the way that I have perceived on that and harped on that. I try to get the information out as much as I can, but sometimes my negativity comes through. In the end, my job as a host is to try and be a little bit more down the middle, even though sometimes opinion is needed. Now, that is why we have always brought on guests who are point and counterpoint. We've brought on the skeptics. We've brought on the non-believers, and we've talked to them about their opinion. We've also brought on the absolute believers, the experiencers, the researchers who believe any of this phenomena is truly real. We try and give everybody the amount of fair time needed to explain their points. Case in point, we've had Mick West on this show. We've had Average Chris on this show, 2 people who get lit up for their skepticism of what's going on with the UFO world. But that being said, to me, I think the answer is getting clearer and clearer. I really do believe that people are going to be the next disclosure movement. Maya Cowan, who we had on as a guest earlier this week, really opened my eyes to that, because she is trying to figure out a way to not only blend great scientific research, but keeping the open possibility of the experiencer as well, using the experiencers for their knowledge of what they get, whether it's location, whether it's downloads, whether it's what they saw, trying to find scientific comparisons between strangers who've had encounters of the incredibly unknown. That gave me a bright, shining light in my eyes that I haven't seen in a long time. And the reason why it did was because I think I have dwelled into the UFO cesspool that we call X a little bit too much and tried to, felt myself getting frustrated in regards to the entire phenomena in general. Just because the government is out there doing their thing doesn't mean that's what ufology is all about. Sure, it may be upology, and I know there are people who are like, Dave, shut up about that, but we have to declare that there is a difference. Look, you don't have to buy what I say. You don't have to believe what I say. You don't even have to like what I say. But my job is to bring you what I notice. You see, a lot of things that we take criticism here for is the fact that we try to remain unbiased. Try really hard. And sometimes it is very, very tough, and that is why I'm talking about how I failed recently. I failed in that because I felt myself going down this dismal track of where I really didn't even like talking about ufology anymore, even though it's a major part of this show. But we have to. And we have to talk about not only the nuts and bolts, but we have to talk about the experiences people are having as well. Because since the beginning of this show, since its inception, we've always been about pro-experiencer. Why do we believe the experiencers? Because I've never stood in their shoes, neither have you. Who's to say that they are telling the truth or not? You hope they are. You hope they're not doing it just to get some airtime, maybe 5 minutes of fame of their 15 minutes that they will get in total. But most of the time, people are willing to tell the truth. Because the one thing I've learned about experiencers over the years, none of them wanted this to happen. It just happened. And now they're wondering, why me? Just like I am with my own experiences, why me? It's a selfish question, but a good question nonetheless, because we're all trying to figure out really what happened to us. The scientific community, the government community is not going to tell us. They're going to go for the nuts and bolts. They're going to go for the militarized side of everything. That's the ugly side of ufology. Never mind the war of words that we see daily on X. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people here. We should enjoy and embrace the fact that as experiencers, we have felt and had something happen that is truly so incredible, it couldn't have written a better script. Now, yes, those encounters are not always positive. Some of them are downright scary, nightmarish, and have caused people into depression, anxiety, afraid to sleep at night. Let's not just shove that to the side and make this all about sunshine, rainbows, peace, love, and light. That isn't the truth whatsoever. But what I can say is that people who have had the ultimate experience are holding the keys to something that they just haven't figured out yet. That's why people get haunted by places, by locations, because they've seen things before. Their intuition is picked up saying, yeah, you might want to be aware of this, or you might want to check why this is happening. The one thing, and I talk about it a lot, about Flight 21, is it's really engaged my excitement with the subject again. Yes, we are looking more for Bigfoot, but there are UFOs and ghosts there as well. And over time, we will investigate that. But it's really brought an excitement back to me that I thought I had lost. I love these topics. I love having experiences of the unknown. I like that anticipation of being scared. Makes me feel alive, as it does probably many of you. Chasing Monsters is a pretty radical title, but it's also a reality that you never know what you're going to get in the forest. We've already seen that on our videos that we have posted on our YouTube channel under Secrets of the Forest, which I highly recommend you check out if you want to know what I'm talking about or to get caught up. But between the vanishing coins and reappearing coins, the shadow person in the trees, the potential Bigfoot up in the tree, the voices of children in the middle of nowhere, we are getting what you all asked for, and that is evidence. Now, I do want to say this. We do try to debunk what we've caught. Now, the voices are pretty hard to debunk when you hear a child's voice in the middle of the forest and there's no children around yelling, laughing, making comments. That's a little weird. Why haven't we caught it again? I don't know. We continue to try, but we're going to. The Bigfoot potential photo that we got of the Bigfoot face in the trees, which can be seen on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio, our Facebook group, Spaced Out Radio, my profile, Dave Scott, on my Instagram, at Dave Scott, SOR. You can check them out there, see for yourself. If you don't think it's anything, if you think it's a blob squatch or something blurry or pareidolia, great. I'm all for it. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right thinking it's a Bigfoot picture. But I do know that Tim and I spent about 45 minutes trying to recreate that, trying to make it happen. Again, we found the trees. We know exactly where it happened. And guess what? There was no face there. Nothing. We could not recreate that photo. And we tried. We totally tried. And we did our best, but it couldn't be done. So I'm just enjoying the fact that I'm getting to do that. The opinions expressed by me are mine alone. And what I mean by that is I'm going to tell you what I experienced, what I felt, what's going on. Because in the end, I love these subjects. I love the fact that in this one area, I can go hang out with ghosts, I can go hang out with Sasquatch, and I can go maybe even see a UFO or an ET. Now, I'm not saying I don't get scared out there, because trust me, I do carry clean underwear with me, just in case. But the thrill of something happening, even when it doesn't, is pretty amazing. I encourage all of you to go try it out. Go find an area or learn about an area in your area where there is maybe hauntings, where there is maybe Sasquatch or a high concentration of UFO sightings. You might see something that you've never seen before. And look, you can't just try once. This isn't something like you're testing a food for the first time. It's not like that. In order to have success in this field, rarely do people get it on their first occasion, especially with UFOs. You have to go back time and time again. Most of the time, same with Bigfoot as well. But that's really up to you how much time you want to spend on it. I'm just here to tell you that it is completely fun. And it's a great way for me to enjoy my time when I'm off the air trying to figure out what is going on in this world that is very weird that we live in. I encourage all of you to get on out there and find the energy that it takes and the time and maybe even a little bit investment if you can afford it to go check out your local forest. Search around for your local legends. Every town across North America, the UK, or wherever you may be listening, has its own legends and folklore. And you would be surprised at how few in your area, especially in the smaller communities, have anybody investigating it. You could be that person. You could be that person who tells a story that may be long forgotten. Because there's all of these towns who have ghosts and scary stories and sightings of creatures that should not exist in our world. Somebody needs to tell that story, and it could be you. And I encourage you to do that. Stay away from the social media arguing and bickering. Go do your own thing. Go find the enjoyment of the life of this, because the political side of what we do, well, it sucks. Just be blunt. It sucks. It's not fun anymore, and I'm trying to find the fun to be a little bit more positive, not only with our guests, but my line of questioning as well. I want to enjoy this field for as long as I can, because we only get one trip on this planet, and I want to make the best of it by having fun with things that I love. Family, a good game of hockey, and this weird stuff that we call the paranormal. That is your Dave 101.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises! I am good at things. Fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
All right, we're going to start off with a weird story here. A veteran Greek hiker died after falling into a ravine in the north of the country after a bear encounter, rescue said. Christos Stavriandis was declared dead at the hospital shortly after he was found in the 2,600-foot ravine in the Fractau Forest in northeastern Greece. The Ektev National Emergency Center mentioned to the media. The gentleman was in the forest with another experienced hiker, Dimitrios Kirologlu, when the incident happened on Monday. I suddenly saw a bear which attacked me, the gentleman said. My dog delayed it for a few seconds. I used pepper spray, and it headed to where my friend was and then knocked him into the ravine. Kirologlu stated that his buddy had run out of bear spray when the very big bear approached him. Did anybody else know there was bears in Greece? I did not know this. See how naive we are about other countries? But this is a scary bear. I've never seen such speed and strength before, he said. Panos Stefanou, spokesman for the Greek wildlife group Arcturus, said the bear was likely defending itself. This is more of a defensive behavior, not an attack. The bear was trying to push back to see what he sees as a threat. The hikers were heading towards the remains of a Greek warplane that crashed in the area some 7 decades earlier. See, weird stuff happens at crash sites, people. Stavriandis has found the plane deep in the forest late last August. He was leading efforts to identify a more accessible route to the location to enable more people to visit the wreckage. It's a beautiful discovery that deserves to be viewed on location. The fuselage is nearly intact, he told the local journalist. It's a treasure of nature that should be left in the forest, he said. Brown bears are protected under Greek law, according to Ursa Trails, which notes the biggest populations are located in the mountains of western Rhodopes and northern and central Pindos. The brown bear population is much denser farther north in Europe. Last month, Slovenia approved the culling of more than 200 bears, whose population in a forested area out of the capital had grown to around 1,000. I don't know what that has to do with this person being pushed off, because it is a different country. But either way, plane crash sites have weird things happen. And stay away from ravines when bears are around. Bears are nothing to mess with. No, they are not. All right, let's get to another one here. The Tuscaloosa Police Department is asking the public for help solving a rather cartoonish mystery. Yeah. An individual clad in a Scooby-Doo costume broke into the Quick Stop on Highway 82 in Duncanville over the weekend, stealing cash and coins. But no Scooby snacks. No Scooby snacks at all. The officers responded to the store after the security alarm was activated at 3:45 a.m. last Sunday. Investigators say the suspect appears to be a white male around 5'9". Those with information about the suspect are asked to call the police number 205-349-2121 to submit an anonymous tip on who the Scooby-Doo perpetrator is. It's kind of weird. He's got a Scooby-Doo bodysuit on with the Scooby-Doo head off and a green balaclava on. Like, what are you doing? That's such a bad fashion faux pas. If you're going to go full Scooby-Doo, go Scooby-Doo to the finest. Let's head to New Jersey here, where a lifeguard had an unfortunate accident at Asbury Park. What happened? He was impaled by a beach umbrella. Another reason why not to go to the beach. Sharks and killer umbrellas. Yeah. Officials believe the lifeguard took a tumble off a lifeguard chair as she was trying to set the large chair umbrella into place. It was just a freak thing as she was putting it in. The gust of wind caught it, pulled it up, so she grabbed it and was off balance. She was on top of the step of the bench, so she fell backwards off the bench, and the umbrella came with her when she came down and landed on her arm. Ouch. The umbrella went through the woman's armpit and came out her back. That's going to leave a mark. About 1 inch in diameter aluminum umbrella pole, which went into her left armpit and came out of her back right near the scapula, according to Asbury Park Fire Department Battalion Chief Christopher Barkalow. The victim, said to be about 19 or 20 years old, was conscious and alert throughout the incident. Lifeguards provide first aid before the fire department and EMS arrived. She is said to be okay. This was just her second year as a lifeguard. Wow, crazy. And finally, a bar has been allowed to stay open until the early hours of the morning in the UK, despite objections from a nearby business. The country club in Barnsley Victorian Arcade was permitted by councillors to serve alcohol between 9 and 2, an increase from the previous 11 to 2,300. The owner of the neighboring opticians had complained about the plans after an incident in which a woman was caught on the store's CCTV jiggling her breasts at customers, one of whom was an 85-year-old man. The club's owners proposed conditions to mitigate concerns, saying there will be no more booby tossing around the bar, especially in front of seniors who may not have seen a good pair in a while. Yes, so to mitigate that, the Counseling Licensing Committee basically said no more of that. Mr. Potter said the noise from the country club customers continued to affect his business, but he's glad things might be changing just a little bit. No charges were laid. We say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. I think that may have been the first time I ever said the word boobies on the show. Kind of excited by that. Well, I hit the wrong button there. I don't know what the hell I hit. We'll have to change this. We'll edit it when it's done. Who's on the show tomorrow night? Let's take a peek here. Carter Bouchard is here. Yeah, good poker player. Wears a nice set of horn-rimmed glasses. Looking for Bigfoot. Looking for aliens. We'll get him going. Thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Mel WD-40 ×2, Ozzy Ange, Jeff Steve Garvey, because he'll always hit a home run for you, and Kitty Caddywhack. My throat is killing me tonight, so I'm going to call it the night. You guys have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow night for the weekend, or just kick off the weekend. Yeah, because that's what I do. See you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.